Good evening. March 16, 2022. Can we all stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I get a moment of silence for prisoners of war and men and women missing in action. Secretary Billups, can I get roll call, please?
Sure. Counselor Heyman,
Here.
Counselor Blackwell, I think is running late. And Counselor Andrewsko is excused. Counselor Sadiq,
Present.
Counselor Faralia,
Here.
Counselor Silva is excused. Council President Burke,
Here.
Counselor Billups is here. Counselor Wagner,
Here.
Counselor Tunis,
Present.
and Vice President Wentz.
Here.
We have Officer Bateman. Thank you. We have the Honorable Mayor Keffer. We have our Treasurer Heyman, Solicitor Kilkenny, and Solicitor Richardson. Alexis Cicchetti, and CAO Vincent Ronjoni.
Mayor. Mayor.
I said mayor. I said it first.
Thank you. Rules of meeting decorum. Upper Darby residents have the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Residents are prohibited from making threats, using profanity, or acting in a manner that would impede or prevent the conduct of the business of this meeting. Can I get approval for the minutes for February 2nd, February 7th, and February 16th?
So moved.
Second.
Got that? Okay. Vice President Wentz, and then Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? All right. So next up, we have a presentation by Miranda Tarkenton, the youth chairperson for Delco Chase. Mr. Bly, you can put them on the chair if you would like, so other people can see them. How much?
Oh, he's got it in
Okay.
the video.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Upper Darby Township Council. My name is Miranda Tarkington, and I am a 16-year-old student of Upper Darby High School, VOTEC student. In my junior year, I have been selected by the Jace of Delco to represent for the youth of my community and school. We're very excited to have the support of the Delaware County Council and the Delaware County Veteran Memorial to bring forth 2 programs for Juneteenth, June 19, 2022. As you are all aware, Juneteenth is a law created during my time. This explains and memorializations that the history of American Civil War and the fight to purge slavery from our history. I've learned so much about Juneteenth because it is on the curriculum at our school, and last year we had our first annual Juneteenth program. As a person of mixed heritage, it is important for me to understand both sides of my identity. I feel it's important for our youth to know the importance of our mutual history. The terms, phrases, and conditions of that time so that today we don't repeat the same mistakes. I am excited to participate and plan with the Delaware County Council to plan for the concert that we will have at the Rose Tree Park and Media. As a member of the JACE, my responsibility is to bring as many youth and activity to actively participate and learn. I've looked forward to this council pledge support for this year's celebration and many more to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Tuckerman.
Mayor Keffer, President Burt, Upper Darby Township Council, thank you for allowing Miranda to speak today. Miranda has been a student at the Upper Darby High School Votech Culinary Arts Program. As a chef myself, I aspire to help the youth attain their abilities to perform their activities outside of the realm of school by mentoring. The purpose here is to remind Upper Darby Township that Juneteenth started in this very room. Chester is the first city to celebrate Juneteenth, and it will be their 12th year, Mr. Tunis. Upper Darby has the privilege and the honor this year to have an important celebration, and I'm gonna tell you why. I registered Upper Darby Township on the International Juneteenth Registry 2 years ago. You are known internationally as one of the first cities, townships, and boroughs to celebrate Juneteenth. I also registered you nationally on the National Register for the celebration of Juneteenth in its diamond year. Upper Darby Township is on the map as a township that understands the importance of celebrating this American holiday. You will see in the coming months that many townships, boroughs, and municipalities surrounding you will have Juneteenth celebrations, specifically Yaden, Collingdale, Lansdowne. And it's great that they are celebrating. But as of right now, Upper Darby Township has no celebrations planned. As of right now, Upper Darby High School is being reneged on the program that said they would have one annually. Are we to lie to our students? Are we to show the disrespect to the ancestors that fought for this great nation? Are we to let politics or hatred of a person stand in the way of the education of the masses? These are the rhetorical questions that I would like for you to ask yourselves tonight. Upper Darby Township may not host a celebration but acknowledge it, but I will pledge to Upper Darby High School that I will bring the full resources of the JACE. I will bring the full resources of the 3rd Colored Regiment of Philadelphia. I will bring the Grammy Award-winning artist and the Grammy-nominated artist and the 2002 Rapper of the Year, Del P, to Upper Darby High School. I will bring Mr. Frank Ross from Cleveland, Ohio, to show them the dance that was done on the lawn of the church in Galveston, Texas. And I will do it all for free. This township and our children need to understand their history, and it is up to each and every one in this room to make sure that it happens. This is where we draw the line. My father fought, my grandfather fought, his father fought, and James L. Parks was a slave. Let's do better, Upper Darby Township. Juneteenth is forever.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Ms. Miranda Tarkenton, will you please send that to Alexis Chiasetti, your words that you spoke today, so she has it on record? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a presentation awards for Women's History Month. Councilman Tunis.
Yeah, thank you, President Burke. As many of us know, March is the celebration of Women's History Month, as well as Irish Heritage Month. So tonight we're going to be highlighting women in our community that have been doing a lot of great work. I'll start, followed by Councilwoman Billups, and then Councilwoman Blackwell, who will be reading the bios of each awardee. We ask when we read your bio, if you could please stand up so residents can acknowledge you. Our first awardee for Women's History Month is Ms. Diamond Gibbs. Diamond Gibbs is an organizer with Amistad Law Project. She was born in Southwest Philadelphia, but was raised over the county line in Upper Darby Township. Diamond grew up in a very religious household alongside her twin brother and older sister, with her father being a pastor and her mother being a stay-at-home mom for most of her childhood. While she was a student at Upper Darby High School, she first started to notice discrimination within the school district after tutoring ESL students and got involved in the Stay Woke Club, a social justice student organization. After the murder of George Floyd, she was propelled into community organizing in Delaware County and co-founded the UDTJ organization, a community-driven, intersectional, anti-racist organization. Through this work, she's helped lead a dynamic campaign working for justice for Fontability, an 8-year-old Black girl who was killed by the Sharon Hill police. She continues to serve as the president of the UDTJ organization. Diamond Gibbs.
Congratulations, Diamond. Next, we have Miss Ollie Lear. Ollie Lear is a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a confidant. Yeah, you can clap. You can clap. You can clap. Friend and a community activist. After the sudden death of her 17-year-old son, Armand Fennell, due to senseless gun violence in 2018, Ollie created Mando's Love. This foundation was created to change lives, mindsets, and communities through consistent display of love and kindness. The goal of Mando's Love is to distribute food, provide toy drives for children, and distribute personal products to those in need in the community. Ollie is a member of Vine Memorial Baptist Church in West Philadelphia, where she serves on the missionary and deaconess ministries. She served diligently at Vine Memorial during food outreach during the COVID pandemic. Ollie was installed as the president of Women's Ministry of the Pennsylvania Baptist State Convention in February of 2022. Ollie is a lover of people and a true servant of God. Her daily scripture that she lives by is John 13:34-5. A new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Miss Ollie Lear. Jean? Okay. Next, we have Miss Jean Kosha. Jean Kosha moved to Upper Darby in 2010 with her family. Her priorities in finding a house in the Philadelphia area were that the community have good schools, be diverse, and be safe. She found all that and more in Upper Darby. She started working at the Upper Darby Township Library in a part-time job as a temporary endeavor while she completed a graduate degree. In the process, she found that working at the library was the perfect place to use her education and teaching experience to engage with the community, tap into her creative side, and contribute to the community in a meaningful way. Through her work at the Sellers Library and Municipal Library, she has been able to organize many programs for children, teens, and adults. One of the accomplishments she is most proud of is the creation of several teen leadership groups. If you've seen children creating giant bubbles, playing tug of war, or doing art on the lawn of the Municipal Library, then you've seen her Teen Advisory Board and summer volunteers in action. Together, they created events for families to enjoy at the library. The number of teens who want to contribute to the community is incredible. They have done so by serving as youth representative on UD Township committees, planning events at the library, scanning historical documents so that residents throughout Pennsylvania have access to them, reading to young children, and helping children during arts and science programs. These teen leaders are what give her hope for the future. Another community organization Jean is passionate about is Tree Tenders of Upper Darby. Many neighborhoods in Upper Darby have very few trees. Jean and her fellow tree tenders are encouraging residents to plant more trees, especially in areas of the township that are considered heat islands. Jean's hope is to bring together teens interested in the environment and tree tenders of Upper Darby so that teens have another space in which they can contribute their talents to the community. Even though we are a community of 80,000 plus, Jean sees the many ways that people in the community are connected to one another and how much residents like to contribute to the betterment of Upper Darby. She sees it with the youth, but also in the many community groups that work on projects throughout the township. Her goal is to continue to create spaces where people can come together to enjoy all that Upper Darby has to offer while also contributing their vision of what Upper Darby can be. Jean Kosha.
So just to let the awardees know, after we read the bios, we'll just take a quick picture
Yep.
of the council members and we'll move forward. So the Councilwoman Blackwell will be reading our next awardee.
Yes, so thank you. I would like to acknowledge that there are people inside of Upper Darby and outside of Upper Darby that do amazing, amazing volunteer work. Ms. Nafisa Majid received her master's degree in English literature. So what makes her and everyone is special, but this is really special because she comes from Andrea University in India and moved to America 30 years ago. She works for Zagat Foundation of America. It's a charity foundation based in Chicago. Nafisa manages Zagat Foundation of America Community Center in Delaware. So we have Chicago, we have Delaware, and now it's Upper Darby. Nafisa and her team made Murfit Kaki. Murfit? I've worked with these ladies and her team on several projects, and they don't ask for not one dime of money. So Nafisa and her team feel blessed to be a part of the organization like Zagat Foundation of America that provides relief globally and locally in order to make the world around a better place. They engage in the community by providing different community service projects to care for the health and well-being of those around us, helping the orphans around the world, providing clean water. We have a lot of people involved in that project, to the communities, helping those with food insecurity, providing educational help to the children and youth, and spreading cheer among the elderly. And some of the service projects that they passionately work on with the utmost dedication. So she's done amazing projects down at 69th Street. She's volunteered, they both have volunteered their time. They came out to me and they give me, it's no money was exchanged. They just came out and they helped. So this is a good thing for America. We need to spread this cheer. Thank you. Let's thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell. We have now the presentation of our Irish Heritage Month Awards, and my friend from the First District, Councilwoman Megan Wagner, will be reading a bio of Mr. Donnie Clark.
Thank you, Councilman Tunis. I will tell you that before I read his bio, as many of you know, I am a former prosecutor, which is where I met Don, and he has become a very, very dear friend of mine as well as his wife. So I thank you, Councilman Tunis, for giving me the honor of reading this tonight. Don is a retired police lieutenant from the Upper Darby Township Police Department. He is a highly decorated officer receiving numerous awards and commendations, which include heroism and life-saving. Don served 32 years before retiring in April of 2020. Some of his career highlights and accomplishments include the fact that he was hired in 1988 as a patrol officer. He was a crisis intervention officer. He worked in the officer-friendly program. He worked with the emergency services unit where he served 27 years, later becoming supervisor of that unit. He was in the canine unit for 10 years. He was a field training officer, later becoming supervisor. He achieved the rank of sergeant in 2006. He was a patrol supervisor as well as a court supervisor. As the court supervisor, Don instituted sweeping changes in the policy and procedures relative to court overtime and attendance, resulting in significant cost savings. Also, he bridged a gap between police and community relations by helping citizens navigate the court system and offering alternative solutions which shed a more positive light between the police department and the community. Don was promoted to lieutenant in 2017 while serving as the court supervisor. He then transitioned to commanding officer of Platoon 1 until his retirement in April of 2020. This was a fitting end to his career as he started as a patrol officer in the 1st Platoon and retired as the commanding officer of the same platoon. Don's family has a rich Irish heritage. The Clark family came over from County Cork in Ireland in the mid-1800s. His mother's family, Johnston, came over from County Donegal in Ireland, also in the late 1800s. Both families settled in Philadelphia. Don's parents grew up in the southwest section of Philadelphia. They married in 1957. Robert and Grace Clark had 5 children: Robert, Donald, Michael, Kimberly, and James. They moved to the Highland Park section of Upper Darby in the summer of 1972. Don and his siblings attended St. Lawrence Elementary School. He and his brothers all graduated from Monsignor Bonner High School, and his sister graduated from Upper Darby High School. Bonner. Don's father worked as a surveyor for Upper Darby Township, and his mom was a nurse and worked at Fitzgerald Mercy Hospital and later for Delaware County Hospital. Don is married to his sweetheart, Lori, who I will tell you is definitely a sweetheart. Not just to Don, but to everybody. And they have one son, Robert. Don and Lori have been married for 33 years. Lori is a nurse and also has Irish roots. Her maiden name is McLaughlin. Don is now the co-owner of Hanrahan's Irish Pub in Drexel Hill. It is located inside. There you go, Don. It is located inside the old Waverly Movie Theater. He co-owns it with his brother, Jimmy. One final note, Don marched in his first St. Patrick's Day Parade in Philadelphia this past Sunday as a member of the Ancient Order of the Hibernians, Dennis Kelly Division.
So we're going to do a quick presentation of awards. When your name is called, if you could just please come up and join council members with a picture, and if your family wants to take pictures too. Okay. Okay. Okay, so our first awardee will be Miss Diamond Gibbs. Oh, sorry. Okay, our next awardee.
Those are some nice shoes.
Those are some nice shoes. All right, our next awardee is Miss Nafisa Majid.
Thank you. Did you say more than one?
Thank you, Nafisa, for all you do. Our next awardee is Miss, and I like to call her Mama Ali Lair.
Oh, he has it. Ollie would like to say something. Here you go.
Thank you, council and everyone. On behalf of Mondo's Love and Divine Memorial Baptist Church in Philadelphia, I do have a donation of food that I will turn over to Councilman Tunis for the Upper Darby Township. Be kind to one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lair, and I'll make sure to connect that with all the other council members. So if anyone is facing any food insecurity, it can reach the entire township. Our next awardee, who lives in my district and does a lot of great things, is Ms. Jean Kasha. Thank you, Jean, for all you do. Our final awardee our awardee for Irish American Heritage Month, Mr. Donnie Clark. Thank you to all our awardees and members of council that brought some of these individuals forth. We just give one final round of applause for all our awardees.
Next up, we'll have public forum. Secretary Bilps.
Yes. First is Casey Cotton.
Should probably move the podium back. No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you just state your name and your address, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
First of all, good evening to my neighbors and members of Township Council. My name is Casey Betts Cotton, and I live at the 300 block of Maypole Road, 2 blocks from the Welcome Center. And I'd like to speak to you regarding the community center. And I have a lot to say, So I made some quick notes so that I could be brief. As the weather has begun to give us some warmer days, and I've been clearing the leaves and sprucing up my lawn for spring, I've had the opportunity to see and speak to neighbors that I haven't seen in months or even met actually due to the very chilly winter that we've had. It is good to see the demolition work that has begun at the old Welcome Center building. And I can tell you that we, meaning my neighbors, some of them, we are surprised and excited about the new community center. I support the community center and the council for this much needed programming for the youth and all members of our community. It'll give us additional meeting spaces, classes, and the observatory is definitely on par with the new millennium and beyond. I believe that other communities will want to copy our model. Since I first heard of the proposed community center and saw the renderings, I thought of numerous community uses like renting out space for weddings, maybe a summer camp for kids, township meetings, business meetings, athletic spaces, multi-use spaces, etc. And the open roof spaces that I saw on the renderings are awesome. Now, of course, we have other buildings, the Watkins Center, Upper Darby Library, Sellers Library, so on and so forth. However, I'm certain that most of you have some newer neighbors who, if you told them that they were giving away free $100 bills at the Upper Darby Library, they wouldn't know where to go. So my point being is that this community center will be well located. Everyone knows where 69th Street is. And so I see this as a big positive for residents without cars being accessible to public transportation. I'd also like to recognize the opportunities for new jobs and our local businesses. The facility will have to be managed, cleaned, maintained, as well as when there are events and meetings, etc., catering. People want to eat. So for these reasons and more, this is positive for all of us. I'm happy and appreciative for the forward thinking of you, our neighbors and council members, bringing these new opportunities and programs for all of us. I support your positive efforts in moving this worthy project forward so quickly. I know that there are small factors to consider with any project as we progress. However, those can be worked through reasonably. People often say, not in my backyard. This community center is in my backyard. So thank you, and I hope to see you all at the groundbreaking or ribbon cutting ceremony very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Stephanie Sina. 19.
Hi, good evening, council. I'm really excited that I picked this night to come because I loved watching all of your.
Miss Sina?
Yes, I'm gonna be quick.
Yeah, no. Can you say your name and address?
Sorry,
okay.
Stephanie Senna, 107 Long Lane, which is about a block away from here. And I will be brief, I promise. But I do want to say that I am so happy to be surrounded by such incredible neighbors who are working so hard for their community. I am incredibly proud to be part of this community now. We just received our resale certification from Upper Darby Township License and Inspection today. And so yes, thank you, very excited. And I cannot wait to be operational. It is very, very needed. You have neighbors here. In fact, one neighbor has a nonprofit a couple blocks away from here, a food pantry, and her daughter it was experiencing homelessness, and she called so many people from in the county and the township to try to get her daughter into a homeless shelter. There are such limited beds available in the entire county of Delaware. So her daughter was taken across state lines into the state of Delaware, which is happening pretty regularly for your neighbors. They're being transported to the state of Delaware when Delaware County can't provide services for them. And so this is a tragedy because when people are shipped over to Delaware, this is happening by county agency that sends outreach workers, and they pick people up in their vans and take them over state lines. I testified to this in front of the PA senators on Monday at a hearing for in the Senate. So there's an emergency happening, and this is perfect timing for me to be operating. However, there are significant changes that need to be made to the building in order for license and inspection to give us a permit to operate. And so in order for us to go to settlement, we had to promise to make these renovations, which we're going to do because we need the building to be safe for everyone. It is not currently a safe building. The HUD, Housing and Urban Development Federal Agency, has given us the money to purchase the property and additional money for rehab, but we are still short about $500,000 in renovations that the township requires for us to be up to code. All that said, I'm aware that the township has approximately $700,000 in ARPA funding, and I would just encourage council to think about the use that could go to. We would be happy recipients. The faster we can get these repairs done, the faster we can be open and serving your community members who are in desperate need of help. And once they come into the shelter, we will be able to get them housing. So that's significant. And I want to be open yesterday. So that's all I'll say. Again, I thank all of you for your support. I love being in your community. The people here care so deeply for their neighbors. And today was a testament to that, watching everybody get these awards. So I can't tell you just how proud I am to be here in your community with you. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Council President or Secretary, what was that address? Okay, thank you.
107 Long Lane.
Thank you.
We have 17 other speakers. We're going to hold it to 3 minutes. It's going to be a long night, so. No, you were fine. I just normally when we only have 10 or 11, we let them go to 3:20, 3:40, but we're going to keep it at 3 minutes to get everybody through. So I'd appreciate when you hear the bell, finish up. Thank you.
Next is Aaron Guard. Thank you.
Hello,
Just state your name and address, please.
my
Thank
name is Erin Guard, and I live at 2413 Devon Lane in 19026. I, members of my family, and many neighbors need to regularly cross Garrett Road at Fairfax Road. This part of Garrett is regularly busy and is a dangerous place to cross. There is no crosswalk for quite a distance on either side. I feel that a well-marked crosswalk, which requires oncoming cars to yield to pedestrians, should be placed at this location. Because I understand that Garrett is a state road, I contacted Representative Zabel's office for help with this question. They informed me that Upper Darby Township is responsible to install and stripe a crosswalk unless an intersection is specifically designed with a no pedestrian crossing sign. They told me that a municipality does not need a permit nor approval from PennDOT to place a crosswalk at an intersection. However, if a crosswalk is to be installed at an intersection, ADA curb ramps need to be provided at this location, and PennDOT does not need to review and approve ADA ramp designs on state highways. PennDOT does need to review and approve ADA ramp designs on state highways. They told me that I should bring this to the attention of Upper Darby Township. So I have contacted the Public Works Department by phone and 3 times by email regarding a crosswalk at Garrett and Fairfax. I am frustrated that I have not received a response. I know this email address is monitored because when I sent a message to inform them about a broken curb by our sewer grate, someone was at our house within an hour. Can you please tell me how a crosswalk can be provided at Garrett and Fairfax?
Thank you. Joe Martin will get in touch, or the administration will get in touch with you tomorrow or the next day after they visit it. Okay? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Next is Marion Minnick.
My name is Marion Minnick. I live at 1204 Wild Avenue, Drexel Hill. First, I want to thank Mayor Keffer and her administration for working very hard on bringing the community center. I mean, it's incredible. Everyone should see the renderings out there. I mean, it is really impressive. And at the same time, it is shameful that members of council hold up funding from the people of this township. To the council members led by Laura Wentz, Matt Silva, and Brian Burke, where is the evidence of wrongdoing? I put in a right to know request asking Laura Wentz to communicate evidence of actual wrongdoing, but I have not heard back from her. Laura Wentz, you do know as a council person, you do have to give a response to right to know requests. Laura Wentz, do you want to tell all of us about what you see as actual evidence of wrongdoing by the administration? I'm waiting.
Excuse me, Vice President Wentz. This is for the residents to speak and be heard. No reason to answer anybody. It's a public forum, not
Laura
public.
Wentz, we are all waiting. And at the end of the day, without actual evidence of wrongdoing, you know what the council members led by Brian Burke, Matt Silva, and Laura Wentz are accusing the administration of doing? They are accusing the administration of making sure that the bills get paid. And you know, Brian Burke, Matt Silva, and Laura Wentz, when state governments, cities, townships, and even residents, when we all make sure that the bills get paid, this is actually a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bonnie Hallam.
Bonnie Hallam, 4719 Woodland Avenue, Drexel Hill. I'm thankful to be here tonight to honor the women that you had honored and to be here for Irish Heritage Month. It was a beautiful ceremony, so thank you for doing that. I just want to very briefly, again, repeat, and I'll come to every council meeting until it happens, that the funds should be allocated to improve our township, that we need to do this now and not wait. I will hope that everyone will work together to make that happen. Our residents deserve it. We all know we need it, and let's get that done. I have a couple of announcements I'd like to make. First of all, Upper Darby with Representative Mike Zabel is sponsoring a regional recycling forum on April the 7th. It's going to be virtual, and we're hoping we have a bunch of great panelists to talk about recycling and figure out what are the problems, what are the challenges, what are the solutions, and how can we make it all work for us and for other municipalities around us, more economic and more environmentally friendly. So I hope that some of you will tune in. I will make sure that everybody gets information on how to be part of that. In addition, I wanted to announce both April 23rd is Rock the Block in Upper Darby. We're working with Habitat for Humanity and Tree Tenders and Upper Darby Township to make sure that trees get planted all over in every district of Upper Darby. So we have canvassers out who are picking streets in each of your districts in which we're going to be planting trees on April 23rd. The trees are a gift of Habitat for Humanity. It's a big project of theirs to rock the block with trees this year. And so we're really excited to be planting those trees with Habitat for Humanity. I'll send out information to each one of you about that event. Following that event is going to be a big celebration in Nailers Run Park. We're going to dedicate our tree nursery, which has been coming for the past 2 years. We're very excited about dedicating that to a special member of the Upper Darby community, and I'll wait for that to be revealed at another time. But we hope that everybody will come out to our celebration. We're going to honor Pastor Nate and all the work that they're doing in his area in Bywood to green their neighborhood, also in conjunction with Habitat for Humanity, as well as the big grant that Pastor Nate received for doing that work, and other people in the community who are greening Upper Darby. And finally, on April 24th, it's a big volunteer activity. We're going to plant trees at Bloomfield and I forget the cross street, but we'll get that information out to you. But please come volunteer and plant trees on Arbor Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you. Next is Gary Marin.
Gary Marin, 1114 Wild Avenue, Drexel Hill. When I last spoke here on March 2nd, I explained how Vince had singularly decided to spend several $100,000 of township funds on a software application that does not meet the township's needs. My statements drew from my own knowledge base, personal experience, and opinion. My purpose was to express the township's continuing vulnerability in leaving Vince at the helm, driving township business with one questionable business decision after another. I regret failing to consider that, in my opinion, Vince is prone to knee-jerk reactions when challenged. And so we come to our badly needed IT systems expert, a contractor named Bill Murphy. I found Bill through a recruiting firm, the Connors Group. We brought Bill on board to help shore up the township's precarious database issues and to manage a transition to modern solutions. What's important to know here is that for the past year, Bill has been central to all forward motion on the township's IT front. He had done an excellent job during his tenure, reviewing new software systems and helping us guide our many database challenges to a soft landing. So when I made my presentation on the 2nd and did not reference any sources, Vince apparently and incorrectly assumed that Bill had told me something that informed my presentation. I say this because the very next morning, March 3rd, Vince directed one of our managers to contact the Connors Group and fire Bill for breach of contract, specifically as stated for sharing confidential township information with me. In truth, Bill and I remain friends and we do speak with each other. But because of the Connors Group contract with Upper Darby and Bill's personal integrity, he never discussed township business with me. So let's set the record straight. Vince's accusation that Bill had breached his contract was just plain wrong. By summarily firing Bill, Vince abruptly put a stop to every one of the active projects that Bill was working on. Bill offered to write a detailed transition status report, but was denied the time to do so. The Connors Group told me that Bill did complete an outline proposal for that report, which was emailed to the township. When and if I obtain a copy of it, I'll be better able to address specific projects that I fear are now in an unstable state of change. Vince's apparent belief that he was personally wronged by Bill sharing confidential township business with me, which again, Bill did not do, caused him to fire our much-needed IT expert. I ask you to consider whether Bill's abrupt firing was a sound business decision made in the township's best interest, or a horrible business decision that might very well have lasting, damaging consequences for the township. As I've said before, this is not political. I just want to bring sound management to Upper Darby Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Deirdre Stallworth.
Good evening. My name is Deirdre Stallworth, 1114 Wild Avenue, Drexel Hill. I plan to speak here extemporaneously about something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm actually very pleased that one of the prior speakers mentioned the need for a crosswalk at a certain part in the township. When I drive through the township, I am amused by the signs that say it's various, four-way intersections or stop signs. Rolling stops cost, I think, $168, but complete stops are free. And that's very amusing, and I smile, but unfortunately, the only ones who read those signs are the ones who stop. A lot of people on their cell phones, they're texting away, having a great old time, and they're not paying attention. This township has a lot of, streets, blocks, stop signs. I come out of my area and I stop and I look because I have no faith that the people coming toward me, the other direction, crosswise, are going to actually stop or roll stop, or they're even paying attention. They're playing on their phones. They're distracted. I got to say, the days are getting longer. They're getting warmer. You got kids out there on their bikes. You've got families, their babies in strollers. You've got people walking their dogs, and you've got people who are distracted. I'm making a plea, therefore, that we do something about traffic enforcement. Do we set up some zones where our police officers will just stop people and warn them, hey, come on, you didn't stop, knock it off? Or if it gets bad, do we start issuing tickets? But this is a real danger for our township and our citizens, and I'm begging you all to think about what you can do to do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Colleen Kennedy.
Colleen Kennedy, 8723 Westchester Pike. So first of all, I just wanted to thank all the people who did good work to work on ordinance number 3113, which you will be talking about later in this meeting. I can't stay though, so I'm going to talk about it now. So it's in reference to false alarms that happen in a lot of housing situations in our township, and it helps to create some accountability there. As I understand it, the ordinance has an escalating level of fines that are accrued for repeat offenders. And I live in an apartment complex that has at minimum one fire alarm each month. And in the past, since the last time that we all met, it's gone off twice. The reason why I'm here is to thank you for your work, but I'm not sure it's going to fix the problem. So first off, I want to note to you all that I've talked to some of my neighbors, and all of us have had our rent increased in the past few months as this has been worked on. My rent has gone up $100, and so I wonder about the deterrent effect. And then in addition to that, we've had water shutoffs all the time without any notice. We've had flickering electricity. We have musty, moldy, dirty rugs in our hallways that have not been replaced despite many, many requests. We have insufficient lighting outside. We have hanging wires outside that I've sent pictures of to the township. And like I said, we've all gotten a massive rent increase. And so I know that township work is very hard, that everyone's very overwhelmed, but I'm just please asking you all to prioritize the property owner that runs most of the affordable housing in our township, and just please do some inspections, because if we're finding people and then they're just increasing our rent, the behavior isn't going to change and the safety issues aren't going to change. But I very much appreciate the work that you all have done, and I hope we can talk some more, and I'm hoping we can talk on the phone, because every time I'm coming to these meetings, I'm worried about getting COVID. So I would just love to talk some more at some point about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Olivia Taylor.
Olivia Taylor, 204 Kent. At the last meeting, we found out that the HEY Meridian firm is going to cost us $97,000, which will come out of the ARPA funds. My question tonight is how much the other two firms are going to cost us and where this money is coming from. If I'm not mistaken, forgive me, Bigner Simpson, is that's what it's, Bigner? Brinker Simpson. And Markham Simpson is the financial advisory, and Markham is the audit. Again, I would like to know how much these two firms are costing and where the money's coming from. I'll pause my time.
Ms. Taylor, neither of them come out of the ARPA money.
I didn't say that. I asked how much is it going to cost the
I don't know.
taxpayers
I don't know. We'll
of
get
Darby
back to you.
Township?
I'll ask the administration to get back to you.
Okay. These are questions that should be answered tonight. You know, the mayor's sitting here, the CEO, you got the lawyer sitting here. Will there be somebody from those firms, as the one from HY came and explained what he's going to do? Will there be a representative from those firms?
I'll ask the administration to bring that up in their next report.
What is really shocking, I remember the night we all were sitting in Beverly Hills Middle School when you appointed the CAO sitting here. And I distinctly remember Councilman Wagner saying that Vince Ragione is not qualified for this position. Clearly, he's not. These three positions, the grant, these are positions that he should have known before he was appointed. Okay, we do know the 97,000 is coming from the ARPA funds. We don't know what part. It may be your green space, it may be the police budget, or it may be the sewer system. Now, the other three, he was supposed to know this going in. You all sat there, booed Councilman Wagner, said he didn't know what he was talking about. Now, look, fast forward 2 years. Got an investigation going, money's missing, mismanaged, and you have the audacity to have people come in here and speak on his behalf, blaming the council for what he done. It's disgusting. Tunis, Councilwoman Wagner asked you about the 902 recycling grant, which was $340,000. Any status on it?
Ms. Taylor, it's a public forum. We'll get back to you on that. I'll have a conversation with Councilman Tunis and the administration.
What about we were supposed to get 2 leaf trucks. Mayor, you said in the meeting back in November that we would have 2 brand-new leaf trucks by the fall of '21. Of course, we're past that. What happened to the leaf trucks?
We'll address that and get back to you also.
Unbelievable. I still haven't got a question on the ordinance 3109, that the money that was set aside for the township employees. I don't know why, again, that was allotted to you two. 290,000 for the CAO, 110,000 for the executive office, 424,000 for the administration, and 192,000 back to HUD. Don't answer. I don't want you to incriminate yourself. We will find that answer out. And it's disgusting. I hope when it's all said and done, we are going to find out what actually happened here.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Next is Jeannie Mann.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jeannie Mann from 706 Foss Avenue. I grew up in this township. I raised my 4 children in this township, and I love this township. And what I am here to speak about today is that the allocation for the American Rescue Plan, it needs to get released. That is what this township needs. This is like a godsend that we are able to have this. The first 2 people who came up and spoke, it was amazing. Like, I'm so excited to hear about the community center and a new homeless shelter. I work as a volunteer with St. Vincent de Paul and St. Andrew's Parish. And I can't tell you how many people from our township that are homeless or that need food or that don't have money to pay their mortgage, all of these things from everywhere in our township. And even up onto St. Bernadette's side because they don't have a St. Vincent de Paul. So, we have these funds and there is no reason for them not to be allocated as they should be, as was passed. I am not a good speaker and I don't really like speaking in front of people. So this was a challenge for me to do this, but I feel it's very important. All the work that I've seen happening during a pandemic in the last 2+ years has been incredible. The environmental work that the mayor and the administration and all of the things that they are getting put into place that could really, really lift our community up. I have lived here forever, and I will tell you that there are a lot of things that never got done in many areas of this township that really should have been done. So, and I was kind of trying to do some little investigating. So I found this is a government website, and I'll be happy to, I didn't print all the pages, it was a lot of pages, but it's from the Directors of Audit Services for Cities and Towns, and they did a kind of like a refresher on the American Rescue Plan forum so that people could understand what they needed to do, cities and townships. And there were a bunch of different questions about it. And this one question says, do we need a separate bank account for ARPA money? And the answer, no. A separate bank account is not required, although you can keep it in a separate bank account if desired. So there was no, if part of it was here and part of it was there, that's not against the law, the act. So if anyone would like to see it, they're welcome to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Next is, put my glasses on. Jeanette Ray.
Good evening. My name is Jeanette Ray, 7813 Beverly Boulevard. My husband and I have been, let me start again. We are proud of our home and have spent the last 8 years making repairs and improvements. Now that the weather is nice, we like to walk around in the neighborhood. It is very disheartening to see so much trash along State Road, in the business areas, and also on private property, on Highland Avenue, and on many of the side streets off of Beverly Boulevard. We often take trash bags and wear plastic gloves on our walks so we can pick up trash. Does the township have any plans to help alleviate this problem? We were hoping the township might be able to install some trash receptacles along State Road, and perhaps maybe we could have neighborhood step outside and pick up trash days. Maybe the assemblies in our schools for anti-litter education. Perhaps get the neighborhood kids involved and have free water ice for kids for the most improved block, or just for participating in the cleanup. Thank you for this opportunity to address this problem.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can we have your address again? I missed that. I apologize.
7813 Beverly Boulevard.
Thank you. Next is Molly Power.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Molly Power. I live at 139 Heather Road, directly that way. I live directly across from Cardington Field. I'm pretty sure you all are familiar with that ballpark. Due to the influx of, we'll say, migrants or whatever, it has become a hellhole. People are speeding down the street at 80 miles an hour. They lap the park to try and outdo each other. I watched, just me walking my dog for 5 minutes, I watched 4 people blow stop signs. One guy passing someone on Walnut Street, which is not a passing street. It's just become insane. There are a lot of kids, they hang out there, they sit in their cars, not even in the park, which is for sports or, kids playing on the jungle gym or whatever. But they sit in their cars and blast their radios. Sometimes they're not even in the car and they're blasting their radio. So, I know the cops can't be everywhere, but please sometimes monitor what's going on there. They're drinking, they're smoking pot. I don't know what else they're doing in there. There's signs saying at dusk the park is closed. They're still in there. There's no locks to keep people out. They can just drive in. I've seen people just sitting there doing donuts in the middle of the park at odd hours. The fireworks, everybody has dogs in the neighborhood and they just freak out, of course, with fireworks. It has just become a hellhole. And to add to the other woman who spoke about all the trash, there are receptacles in the park, but people just literally will just throw the trash next to the trash can and then it blows in our yards and then we have to pick it up again. And it's just really become nasty. So I plead and implore that there's more protection around that park, kick the people out. It was good in the beginning, like once I would finally talk to a police officer and say, look, this is what's going on. It's great for like a week and then it fizzles out again. And now that it's getting warmer and the radios are getting louder and there's more people lapping the parks going 80 miles an hour, I don't even want to go outside anymore. I can't even open my windows because all I hear is booming bass and I can't stand it anymore. So that's all I had to say. Thanks for listening, but please. Last question. Are there any plans to put the school back in Cardington? Is that still on the table or?
Ms. Powers, I'm not sure. I know they had a meeting about 7 months ago.
I know,
whether they're
unfortunately, I couldn't meet. It
Yeah.
was during working hours, but please put the school back. That'll keep them out.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Powers.
you. Thank you. Next is Art Tung.
I'm Art Tung at 502 Larchwood Avenue. I am a pastor at Beverly Hills Presbyterian Church and also the coordinator of the Upper Darby Drexel Hill Ministerium. And first of all, I want to say how much I appreciate each one of you and your service to our community. I'd like to speak in support of the community center and share a recent experience I had. Over the past year or so, the ministerium has been focusing on responding to the needs of immigrants and migrants in crisis throughout our nation and indeed the world. And most recently, we have been working with local support organizations on the needs of evacuees from Afghanistan, hundreds of whom are settling in the Metro Philadelphia area. You may know that they represent the full diversity of families, singles, families broken by war, workers with backgrounds in the trades, professions, the military, and business owners. And many have expressed a specific interest in settling in Upper Darby Township. And in fact, we have been asked by support organizations working with them to identify housing spaces in Upper Darby, but alas, so far, without success. Now, I know housing is a separate but burning issue, but that was okay. So last month, 2 of my parishioners and I went to Northeast Philadelphia and helped to set up 2 apartments on Oxford Avenue. And that was okay. The Great Northeast is great, but to paraphrase W.C. Fields, on the whole, I'd rather be living in Delaware County. Yeah, let's hear it. And did you know W.C. Fields was born in Darby, by the way? So I want to make 2 points. The first is that we need to build our capacity to attract and actually receive new neighbors. The community center would be a substantial attraction, not only for new neighbors, but also to serve our present community. And especially in my mind, a burden I have for the young people of our community. And secondly, in addition to capacity, let's face it, we are also as a community in a competition. We are surrounded by communities in this county and elsewhere that are retooling to update their resources for the 21st century. We're already in 2022. And so the question I want to pose is, will Upper Darby fall into the rear of this competitive curve, or will we be able to keep up and perhaps even lead the pack as we ought to as the largest community surrounding the city of Philadelphia? What will be your legacy? What will you leave behind during your terms and beyond? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jeffrey Jones. Yeah. No.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Jones. I reside at 602 Foss Avenue. I come before you tonight to make you aware and seek your support in opposition of an application that will be heard on March 22nd before the Zoning Hearing Board in regards to the property at 605 Mason Avenue, which is directly behind my house. Property is zoned R2. It is a double lot. One side of that lot is a yard, right? It's got trees, it's got bushes, it's got grass, it has a jungle gym. The other is a single-family home. Tonight we've heard concerns of our neighbors about open space, about traffic, about housing. This application asks for no less than 4 variances where they seek relief. One, for the use to build a gymnasium in replacement of the house. Another, for minimization of setbacks that are established by our zoning code, for buffers, for planting. And finally, the fourth is for relief from parking requirements, because obviously when you build a gymnasium, you're going to have events. When you have events like basketball games and such, you will have parking. In an already overly burdened residential neighborhood with single-side parking, whenever there's an event on adjacent properties where they've already received such relief, parking is a premium. It is a nightmare. I want to thank Laura Wentz, Matt Silva, Brian Burke, Megan Wagner. I've spoken to several of you on council, and I do appreciate your time and your service. I expect to speak to the rest of you to get your support. I understand, I had hoped that I could ask council to have the solicitor come in support of the residents and the zoning code against this application. I find that that's not the way it works. So I think there should be some discussion on how these matters are addressed by this council, giving you the power to side with the residents and address these things at the zoning hearing board level. I will be seeking party status to address and appeal any rulings that they come down with that aren't favorable to the residents in my neighborhood. I am here with my neighbor, Tim. I'm sure you all know Tim. Tim and I are both in opposition, as are our other neighbors. We are putting forth a petition, if anybody wants to sign it, in support of this opposition. I have no problem with kids playing basketball. I coach my kids in soccer. I have no problem with using these places, but not in my backyard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tim.
Tim, are you up?
Tim Toonstra, 610 Foss Avenue. I'll try to be very brief. First of all, my neighbor and friend Jeff just mentioned me. This is a situation that affects both of us personally. But on the other hand, the granting of variance to codes that have real purpose is something that happens perhaps with too often regularity and affects not just us in particular, but often other parts of the of Upper Darby relative to parking, which is going to be discussed later on this evening. Parts of the township that are more burdened by parking problems are suffering from these kinds of variances that are granted all too often. I will leave that because I kind of need to move on to a couple of other things. The ARPA funds. There has been a lot of discussion based on people saying, I'm not making any accusations of illegality, to be followed by accusations that sound an awful lot like allegations of illegality. I had another neighbor who shared information based on research, which any one of us could have done, but one person happily did, that pointed out that no, the federal government does not require setting up a separate account for ARPA funds. I personally am offended by the use of an excuse on the part of those of you on Township Council that have opposed the release of the funds that you already voted in favor of in a budget and in a plan for how to use the budget funds. Enough is enough. It's time we move ahead with that. Codes, again, kind of referred to another young lady who talked about codes not being enforced in her own building. It's causing problems for the people who live in that building. And finally, I want to make reference to, I believe, the first gentleman who sat over there and talked about Juneteenth and how it actually began right here in Upper Darby Township. And yet, we don't have a celebration for that. So I would ask you to consider that very, very seriously. That is something that we could all be tremendously proud of. And yet neighboring townships are celebrating, we are not. I thank you again, all of you, as I have each time. I thank you for your service. I appreciate all that you do for us. And I ask you to please listen to the people who have spoken in here specifically tonight. And specifically on the ARPA situation, stop withholding funds to try and gain leverage. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Yeah, few more. Next is Nathaniel Goodson.
Good evening. My name is Nathaniel Goodson. I live at 231 Hampton Road in Upper Darby, the Bywood section of Upper Darby. Might I say, first of all, this is not part of my prepared text, but I want to commend the council. I sat, as many of you know, in one of those seats for 8 years. I am just impressed with your patience and your ability to listen to all of the residents. I commend you. Coretta Scott King said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate action of its members." I stood across the street from the old Welcome Center this afternoon and watched it being demolished with 2 teenagers who live in the Bywood section of Upper Darby. They were just impressed. They were absolutely happy because they had gone to Bywood Elementary School. They had gone to the Beverly Hills middle school. They had gone to the Upper Darby High School. They have lived in Upper Darby all of their lives. And they said to me, Pastor G, that's what they call me, we've never, ever seen any new building erected in our community. And they stood just amazed at the fact that that old Welcome Center could possibly be a place where a brand new building would be erected in their community. They saw it as an investment, not only in the community, but an investment in their lives. I would certainly hope that tonight, when you're discussing passing or whatever it is you guys are going to do tonight, that you would make sure that the community center is placed in the Bywood section of Upper Darby. Incidentally, I'm the chairman of the Bywood Community Association.
Thank you. Next, I stepped on it. Next is Deborah. There you go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Satterwhite, and I live at 232 Maypole Road. I've been in my home for 21 years, and I'm current on my taxes. And the reason why I'm here is because within the past 2 years, I've seen such a awful change just in my block. And on Saturday, I picked up 13 beer bottles and cans. And I watched a little boy pick up a beer bottle and turn it up to his mouth. And so my reason for being here is something has to be done about the 200 block of Maple. The trash is horrendous. And everybody that knows me knows that I go up and down picking up the trash. And I can't continue to do that. I'm not a young girl. But what I'm also asking is that there are so many abandoned cars that have been sitting there for over a year. So if they can make the cars move to one side of the street to the other and street sweep come up, that would get rid of the cars that are sitting there for over a year and not moving. And there is a parking problem with 5 and 6 families living in one house and 12 cars. So I'm also a member with Pastor Nate with the Bywood community, where we're trying to make the community better. And we're in the process of trying to grow a garden, a community garden and everything. But one of the major problems in the Bywood community now is, to me, is trash. And I've called license and inspections, and I would think that, if they could just go around and put notes on people's doors and say, you can't walk out your house and step on trash. And like I said, for 21 years, I've been in my house. And the past 2 years, it's turned into almost a dump. And that's what I'm here for today. I want something done about the trash and the people that don't clean up in front. And a lot of the people that live on my street, according to statistics, 60% are renters. And a lot are Section 8, and it's a revolving door. So I don't know what to do anymore but ask for help here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Kyle McIntyre.
Kyle McIntyre, 1040 Drexel Ave. So I'm actually not up here to complain for once, so this is going to be fun for everyone, hopefully. So I just wanted to come up and talk about the upcoming Upper Darby Pride Festival, which will be happening on June 11th this year, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Upper Darby High School. It is the largest Pride celebration in Delaware County. We are proud to be bringing that back. There's going to be a variety of activities, pretty much a lot of stuff that happened last year. So we're going to have a lot of kid-friendly activities, as well as vendors, music, DJ, dancing, face painting, nail painting, whole bunch. We obviously invite everyone in the community to come out, join us for that day of festivities. I don't know if anyone knows, but the last festival we put on last year, we did so in 27 days. It was an absolute feat of pure perseverance upon all the organizers and even the community that came out, donated, supported, really helped us out. This year, we are months away and we're already up to about 50 vendors. A lot of national organizations have looked at Upper Darby's Pride Festival. They're coming from Washington, D.C., New York, Harrisburg, from across the country. We got some vendors from Fort Lauderdale coming all the way down from Florida. So we definitely are on the map. So we're very proud of what this has become, and we're really excited for the performances that we have that we're going to be providing for the community. The one thing that we ask is obviously, these things are not cheap, and most of our organizers are college students, so we don't have much in the way of money ourselves. So we are asking people to donate and participate in whatever way they can. We just got our 501c3 status, UDTJ, so thank you. So we hope that we would have had time to apply for grants and we wouldn't have to lean on the community as much as we're going to have to this year, but this is going to be the last year where we're really going to be relying a lot on crowdfunding. So if you are interested about sharing any of our material, promotional material, or if you're interested in donating, you can go to udtj.org/udpride2022. All the information is there. Please share it with your friends, your family members, and come out and celebrate. The last thing I would ask for the township to do is actually March 31st, so the last day of this year, is Trans Day of Visibility. And we are asking for Upper Darby Township, if it is possible, for them to raise the transgender flag above the township on that day, March 31st. As I said, it is Transgender Visibility Day. With recent laws that have been passed around the country, it would be very, very profound for the LGBTQ community that lives here in Upper Darby and in our area to know that the township stands with them and supports them, and this is a welcoming place for them. So that's what I'd ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
And that's it.
That's it. 10.0, the Honorable Mayor Barbara Ann Capper.
Good evening, everyone. This morning's groundbreaking ceremony at the new Drexel Town Center was a great event. It marked the official start of this mixed-use it marked the official start of this mixed-use redevelopment. And the renovation of the Drexel Town Center will revitalize the Western Gateway into Upper Darby. It's a huge investment by MCB and will bring more jobs, more shopping opportunities, new housing, and more tax revenue for our community. So as I was mentioned in the public forum, the demolition of the former Welcome Center began yesterday. And that's the location of the future Upper Darby Community Center at 7,000 Walnut Street. It's hard to believe that a community the size of Upper Darby with over 85,000 people doesn't already have a community center that's open to everyone, but it's true. And this will be a state-of-the-art building, which will include classrooms, meeting spaces, brand new multi-purpose gym, and an accessible green roof. And it will allow for a lot of new programming for residents of all ages. And that's why I'm happy that council unanimously approved the land development plan for the community center last month. Within the last couple of weeks, we've hired an American Rescue Plan compliance consultant, Jack Reagan, from UHY. He introduced himself at this meeting 2 weeks ago. Funding for the community center is a qualified ARPA expense, which is why my administration has amended Ordinance 3111 to include funding for the community center and for administrative expenses. The amended ordinance was sent to all members of council a week ago, this past Monday, March 7th. And tonight, Jack Reagan is here to talk about that. I'd like to cede some time to him.
have to go everywhere with the briefcase. Again, my name is Jack Regan, Jackreagan. I am a managing director with UHY Advisors, and I thought it would be helpful for council to understand a little bit more of the timeline of how the final rule has evolved, so that the addition of the community center to the ordinance can be placed in context. We were operating under the interim final rule until early January, when the final rule was finally released. And then we got some new reporting guidance issued by Treasury on February 28th of this year, which significantly disaggregated the number of expenditure categories, one of which is category 2.22 for those keeping track at home. Strong, healthy communities, neighborhood features that promote health and safety. At other of my ARPA clients, and I've got now almost 15 of those around the country, been seeing a lot of instances where community centers, either renovations or new community centers, such as what's being proposed here, are being categorized in that category. So it is, in my opinion, definitely an allowable expense. It is something that is, again, one of the goals of this legislation is for projects that are transformative to the community, that are going to affect a wide variety of the constituents in the locality. And this one checks all the boxes. So it's definitely allowable. And I'll entertain any questions you guys may have on this or anything else ARPA related. Thank you.
Does anybody from council have any questions for Mr. Reagan? Councilwoman Wagner?
Mr. Reagan, right? Mr. Reagan? I just have one brief question. If you're saying that a community center would qualify, right, for the ARPA funds, hypothetically, a senior center would as well, correct?
There are, yes, that sort of thing would be allowable under, again, I think category 2.22. That's I think that's the intent of that project category, absolutely.
Thank you.
Anybody else from council? Okay.
I do.
Oh,
I have one. So if we have a community center, a senior center can fit into a community center. So if there's rooms in there. So I'm just saying, right? So if you have a community center, right, and if it's big enough, you can have a room that will also provide other things for people.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
but
I'm just making hypothetical as well.
yeah, that's a good question for the engineer or architect. Thank you. Mhm. Okay. Thank you. Secretary Bill. Anybody else from council have any questions? Mayor, would you like to go on with your?
I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the allocations in the amended ordinance are as follows. Flood mitigation and sewer upgrades at 3.5 million. Police and fire, 3 million. Upper Darby Community Center, 2.5 million. COVID relief and negative economic impacts, 2.5 million. Parks and public spaces, 3 million. Administrative costs, $380,969.50 for a total of $14,880,969.50. So this amended ordinance is not on the agenda tonight, but I strongly urge council to place ordinance 3111 on the agenda for the next council meeting to be introduced and advertised. If you want, we have a lot of good information on Facebook. I know not everybody's on it, but there's a lot more updates about events, meetings, and just general news about Upper Darby, and that's Upper Darby Township government. So I'm just going to see, one more quick reminder to myself. March 25th is Greek Independence Day. And on Sunday, the 20th, there's going to be a big parade that starts at the Art Museum. And there's also going to be a celebration at St. Demetrius Church on Sunday. And I'm planning on going, and I will have a proclamation to honor that anniversary. And I'd like to see the rest of my time to CAO Rongioni to provide additional updates from the administration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Keffer. Let me just apologize in advance. I've been talking a lot and my voice is a bit strained this evening, but I appreciate the time. I know it's already been a long night, but unfortunately, we do have a lot to get through. I want to take a minute to set the record straight on a number of issues and answer a number of questions that have been raised both this evening and over the last few weeks. It's important to know that Mayor Keffer and her administration feel very strongly about what is now the national holiday, Juneteenth. As a matter of fact, before the resolution was ever presented in this council chamber, it was actually then Councilwoman Keffer who provided the draft resolution to Mr. Bly to be brought forward before this body under the previous mayor. As a matter of fact, it was this administration that first flew the Juneteenth flag over this municipal building for the first time in its history. And this administration also participated in the co-hosting of an event that was referenced. Perhaps most importantly, we do plan to have a celebration this year, and we do look forward to working with the JACE and any and all willing partners to help us commemorate, celebrate, memorialize this incredibly important holiday, which is now a national holiday. So hopefully that clarifies a number of questions that have been raised in this chamber over many days, weeks, months, and years at this point. The other thing, which is kind of a broad topic that I'm really not sure how to approach, but I'm honestly a bit saddened to have to address at all, is some of the very personal, very severe criticisms, not just of me, but of my office, of my predecessors, of my coworkers, of my colleagues. I think if you go back and look at my comments, what you would find is that I often refer to people by their title. Councilman, council president, Mr. Solicitor, the former finance director. And I think what you would notice, especially this evening, is that there's a distinctly personal tone to the criticisms and comments. I think it's obvious to anyone who's been in this chamber that Mr. Marin does not care for me personally. And that's an opinion that he's certainly entitled to. I've had jobs and bosses where I was uncomfortable, where I didn't like my employer. And I, simply chose to move on. It's not really important how we feel about one another personally. What's important is that we focus on a shared set of facts, that we actually tell the truth to one another, that we actually tell the truth to the community. That we actually tell the truth to this council. The people who sit at this dais are volunteers. Sure, they get a small stipend, but they volunteer their time to represent this community. They work hard, they put in sincere effort, and they care about the people who live here. And so to come here day after day and grind a malicious, obviously personal and emotional acts is really not just a disservice to the community, but a disservice to this body, to the elected representatives who sit here and volunteer their time for this community. So I'm going to address a few things that I've let go over the previous weeks and months. It has been suggested that the OpenGov software platform is not a fully mature product, that is not ready to deal with Upper Darby. And that is simply an assertion without merit. OpenGov is a company that has thousands of clients across the country. Their clients include St. Paul, Minnesota, a city that we all know, a city of over 300,000 people. Their clients include Scranton, Pennsylvania, our peer community right here in the Commonwealth. Their clients include Birmingham, Alabama, Gary, Indiana, and Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida is a city of over 400,000 residents that is home to an international airport and multiple professional sports franchises. To baselessly claim that the product is not sophisticated enough for our municipality is a disservice. And so now what I would like to do is offer a brief video to the council and the community that talks a little bit about the OpenGov platform. And after that video, I will continue to set the record straight.
You know, people are more apt to follow a leader if they know where they're going. And one of the qualities of OpenGov is that you can show the benefit to the team members right away.
I think what's really different now is we've gone from creating the solutions that our customers need to being a broker for the solutions that our customers need. And I think that's more of our role now, is figuring out the technology, helping understand the business needs, and then finding the solutions that will take care of our customers.
I mentioned we're doing a lot. It's really the impact that we're having on people's lives, the community, on the infrastructure, that is really rewarding for me. I could see the change happening.
Well, for me, I was born and raised here in Tampa, and I feel without a doubt it is the greatest place to live, work, and play in the entire world.
For me, one of the best things about working here at the City of Tampa is that singular mission. And I think, again, as an IT person, what you worry most about is, are you picking the right solutions? Are your users going to enjoy those solutions? Are they going to come along for the ride?
I know from my perspective, you know, I'm managing and taking a look at the city overall. I'm not worried about departments. I'm worried about what are the major revenue drivers in the city, what are the major expenditure drivers in cities, and what are those trends citywide.
Well, the city of Tampa was looking for that software product that would provide us with the real-time data that we needed, not only to share with our various team members, but also to advance that relationship with the community.
And so we found moving to the cloud, moving to SaaS solutions allows us to have a continuously updated product that we might not ordinarily have gotten in government.
And OpenGov gives me that ability with a single press of a button in order to get that data. So it allows that greater visibility at a lower level than what we otherwise were providing to the public.
So affordable homes, good paying jobs, reliable mass transit, and then an overarching view of resiliency and sustainability. That's what OpenGov allows us to track the data in each of those areas where we can measure our progress. We have data now that will give us real-time information that lets us know how successful we are in certain areas and the work we have to do in others. You know, people are more.
Now that we've seen a brief introduction to what the OpenGov platform can do for a city of over 400,000 residents with an international airport and multiple sports franchises, I'd like to lighten the mood a little bit for a second, if I could, because this is all a bit heavier than it really needs to be. You may or may not be familiar with a performing artist affectionately known as the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. James Brown has a classic track, "If you don't tell a lie about me, I won't tell the truth about you." And since many lies have been told about me and my staff in this chamber, I'll begin to tell the truth about what happened. In February 2020, eConsult Solutions, who was retained by the previous administration, began to conduct research on software platforms for the township. They emailed us a number of recommendations. We then received recommendations from the Pennsylvania Municipal League in August. In March of 2021, the former finance director emailed department heads and finance staff and listed multiple service providers whom we would be vetting for the purpose of choosing a provider and implementing a program. So the assertion that the decision was made without consultation of many departments and many experts is once again false and without basis, is once again a knowing lie that was told to this community in this chamber. These are documented facts. These are real emails. Further, in May of 2021, our Department of Licenses and Inspections met with OpenGov as a possible solution for the L&I department. That was when OpenGov first made contact with the township. The township did not first make contact with OpenGov. OpenGov made contact with L&I. L&I met with them and found the platform to be excellent. They were excited about the product. They thought it was an excellent solution for their department. And so at that point, I asked that OpenGov be added to the list and vetted along with the other software programs. Very simple. After the initial presentation, there were emails with the consultant that the former finance director referenced, talking about how they were pleased with what they saw from the initial presentation by OpenGov. In July, the former finance director was sent an analysis that provided 12 clear examples of why customers switched from Munis to OpenGov. One of those examples was that the budgeting in Munis was too basic and did not lend itself to scenario analysis, mid to long-term planning, advanced personnel calculations, and projections. This had led to the need to create parts of the whole budget outside Munis in Excel spreadsheets. These are just some of the examples of things that were known by this person who has come before you multiple times and told these knowing falsehoods. Further, when you get to August, from August on, the former finance director only refers to OpenGov in his communications as the software of choice moving forward, both internally and externally. He communicated with outside vendors, with utility companies, with internal stakeholders, only referencing OpenGov as the preferred software platform for Upper Darby going forward. And in his own transition documents, he lists finalized software with OpenGov. And probably most importantly, the contract with OpenGov was not signed until after Mr. Marin tendered his resignation. So we have some real issues here with the credibility of some of the things that have been presented. And there are other very significant credibility issues that I am confident will come out during these investigations. But I think it's important, just from what you've heard so far, that you now are aware that what you've been told is not true. So I really did not want to have to do these things tonight. I had really hoped that the council and the community would sort of let this blow over, let this one obviously personally aggrieved, sort of distraught person go their own way without miring the township in this terrible situation. We have a generational opportunity to invest money in this community, And it's being bogged down by these lies and this deception. It has become too much. And the falsehoods from tonight are myriad. Here's the thing. The township did end their contract with the Connors Group. That is a fact. No one was fired. No one was summarily dismissed. We had an independent contract with a consulting firm, and it came to a natural end. Now, we paid the Connors Group over $215,000 during the term of that contract. And I would submit to you that the services provided were nowhere near the $215,000 that we paid for them. As a matter of fact, we never received an itemized bill for their hours, despite many, many attempts to receive one. We have, in fact, already retained the services of IT professionals and programmers. Our schedules are absolutely on track for implementation. I had a meeting with OpenGov earlier today and discussed the implementation timeline, and we are on track. So there's a lot of the attempt to sort of scare the council and scare the public, and these things will break. It's really unhelpful, and it's not founded in the truth. And so I do apologize for taking this much time. Again, I know it's already been a long meeting, but I assure you that what I've said here this evening is absolutely the tip of the iceberg. And I will stop because I think I've provided enough evidence and have enough supporting documentation to say, let's move on with a shared set of facts. It's been a difficult couple of years for all of us, but I'm here to reassure everyone that facts are real. I know that's been put to the test by a lot of people, but the truth, Mulder and Scully, is out there. So, thank you for the time, Madam Mayor. I yield back to you.
Okay, I think I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, CAO. Next up is my report. I'll make it quick. I would like to thank the committees, the solicitors, the administration, our wonderful secretary for the hard work that's been done in the last 9 days on these ordinances and all the research that they've done. So I'd like to thank them for the work that they do. And that ends my report. So Treasurer's report, David Heyman.
The treasurer doesn't have anything to report this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we'll have a committee report, Finance and Appropriation. We'll have a speaker today, Mr. Christopher Boggs.
Good evening, Mayor, President Burke, Council. My name is Christopher Boggs. I work for the law firm of Mark Much, and the Finance Committee and Township Council have hired me as a special solicitor to look into some specific questions about some finances in the township. That's not necessarily my purpose tonight. My purpose tonight, I was asked to come here to introduce myself and my law firm to the council. There was some want to understand who we are and what our purpose is. I'm also going to address my political background. There's some concern that I or my firm could have some allegiances to one party over another. So I'm going to address that, and I would like to just give you an updated report as to what's been done so far.
I'm sorry, just for the record, could you please spell the name of your firm?
That's Mark Much, M-U-C-H. Our firm is made up of Mr. Much, who went to Delaware Law School, myself, who went to Delaware Law School, Mark Cerrone, who went to Villanova Law School, George Litterer, who's been our paralegal for 3 decades, Nicole Phillips and Karen Hendrick are our secretaries, and we have an intern, Jean. Mr. Much started practicing law in the 80s. He clerked for Judge Semeraro before opening a criminal defense firm, and he and his paralegal have worked together in criminal defense for over 32 years. Mark also represents several municipalities. He represents Traynor, Marcus Hook, Yeadon, and he's formerly the solicitor of Darby Borough. He has assigned this investigation to me because of my experience in the DA's office. I worked for Delaware County for 13 years. 5 years was a public defender, 8 years as a prosecutor. I served 3 different district attorneys, 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. The Democrat, Mr. Stolzheimer, who's currently in office, promoted me to chief of the Special Victims Unit, where I served in that capacity for 2 years. It was my responsibility to oversee every special victims case in Delaware County. I oversaw a unit of 5 attorneys. With the direction of DA Stolzheimer, I was proud to help create the first child abuse task force in Pennsylvania, and I oversaw 19 task force officers, 3 from here in Upper Darby. I was in charge of PFA court, which is protection from abuse, it's family law. I was also on 24-hour call for all special victims investigations in Delaware County. I was responsible for all child line reports, and I carried my own caseload, including murder, rape, child abuse, trafficking, and second and third strike sexual offenses. It's really that fact that I investigated the most serious crimes over the last 2 years that uniquely qualifies me, and I believe that's why counsel had asked me to perform this investigation. I do want to briefly address my political background. I think it's important to investigations that people are honest and open, and that there are no biases or prejudices. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I went to Calvert Hall High School, which was a sister school of LaSalle. I registered as Republican on my 18th birthday. I went to Widener to play football in 2002. I was far better at school. I went to Delaware Law School in 2006, and that's where I met my best friend, Ryan Grace. His mother was Mary Ann Grace, and she was the executive director of Delaware County for several years. They are also Drexel Hill residents. I started working the polls in Upper Darby in 2008. I worked Beverly Hills Middle School through 2015. During that time, I was a proud Republican. In 2015, our party nominated someone for the office of the president that changed that. I will never forget that last day that I worked the polls at Beverly Hills Middle School in the driving rain in November in 2015. I refused to hand out literature for the presidential candidate, and the next 4 years disappointed me greatly. I tried to support candidates that I thought were meaningful. I was a campaign manager in 2018 for a race in Haverford against Greg Vitale. It was unsuccessful, obviously. In 2019, I ran Ryan Grace's campaign for Media Borough Council, again unsuccessful. Since 2016, I have voted for 3 Republicans: Michael Straw, Ryan Grace, and Wendy Roberts. The rest have been straight Democratic tickets. I used to believe in the argument of big government versus small government. Forgive me for thinking that limited government and free markets were a way to go. I've never seen the other side as an enemy. I've always seen them as the other side of an argument, and maybe they're right in their side of the argument. What I see on social media and the news representing even my local party, I don't know these people. They want nothing to do with me, and I don't really want anything to do with them. I hope that that's not the case forever. Ryan Grace works for a firm in Westchester now, and his mom works for Mary Ann Mercy. We're out of politics. Mr. Much is the same way. He has no loyalties to either political party. We represent Republican boroughs of Traynor and Marcus Hook, and we represent a unanimously Democratic borough of Yeadon. I will approach this investigation with the same way that I would approach an investigation in the DA's office, with honesty and an open mind. I never root for crime or wrongdoing. I always hoped that the suspect actually did not assault the child. But if they did, there is certainly an obligation there. I love Upper Darby. I love Delco. I coach football at Marple. I live in media. Delco is my home. Upper Darby is arguably the heart of Delco, and it is a very special place to me. I hope to one day report back to you that there's nothing to see here. Lastly, I would like to address what has already been done. I did go through one round of witnesses. I have issued my first round of subpoenas. There was only some, and the Finance Committee knows this, there were only some pieces of potential evidence that were time sensitive. So I sent a preservation letter along with those subpoenas. I am not naive. I expect to be challenged politically, legally, at every turn. I have been asked, how long will investigation like this last? And that really has to do with how much cooperation we get. If we get the proposed documents, this could probably be over in about a month. I put on the subpoenas a return date of April the 8th, so I'm hopeful for cooperation, and I'll certainly answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Boggs. I see Councilman Tunis and Councilman Heyman, and then Secretary Phillips, I believe, right? Yep, so we'll go in that order. Is that all right?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Boggs. It's nice to finally meet you in person. I just want to make the public clear, Mr. Boggs is here as a result of the questions I asked in the last meeting. And to my knowledge, this investigation was voted on in February. So my question is, what council member or members, if any, engaged your office, and which council members have you been in contact with during that entire period? Because I was under the impression as a 7th District Council person that you represent entire council.
That's correct.
And this is my first time meeting and even seeing you. So my question is, during that period, which council members engaged your office? And throughout the duration of the month, who has been your primary contact?
So, absolutely. So Mr. Much assigned me this investigation shortly after, I believe, President Burke received his written engagement letter. From there, I have only had contact with the Finance Committee. I was invited by Vice President Wentz through email, and I have been appearing via Zoom. I believe it was the last 2 Finance Committee meetings. So my involvement with council has been through the Finance Committee.
And you said President Burke gave Mr. Much a letter?
Mr. Much gave President Burke a letter. I believe it was President Burke that had reached out to our, but I was assigned the case from Mr. Much.
Can you clarify that?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
The Finance Committee had a meeting. It decided, well, at one meeting, Finance Committee asked for an investigation, and Solicitor Kilkenny said they couldn't. So we came back, a meeting later, correct, Councilwoman Wagner?
What date was this meeting?
I just want to be clear, President. I didn't say you couldn't. I said it just needed to be on the agenda for the changes in the Sunshine Law. Just want to be clear about that. You clearly can have an investigation. You're doing an investigation.
Would you like to comment on that?
I think what he's clarifying is that I was told I could not make a motion at that meeting because it was not on the agenda. I think that's what he's saying, not that you indicated that we could not have an investigation.
Okay.
I don't think President Burke was indicating that.
I'm sorry. So at the present point, thank you for that clarification, Councilwoman Wagner. So at that present time, it wasn't on the agenda, so we couldn't make a motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the next meeting, we put it on the agenda through a resolution, and then as a motion, and then I contacted, myself contacted Mr. Munch's firm, and then met with the Finance Committee to go over that I contacted Mr. Munch. And after a couple of days, I contacted him. He got back to me and said, we would look into it. And then I told the Finance Committee, and then that's when the Finance Committee started after we. So I'd like to clarify, Solicitor Kilkenny, I said the wrong thing. It was not, I meant that it wasn't on the agenda, so it couldn't be a motion. We came back the following meeting, so thank you.
Sorry if there was any.
No, that's wrong words from me. That's why both of you two are lawyers.
Yeah, and
Don't worry, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, so.
just a quick question, President Burke. Would you be open to sharing the time and date you reached out to the law firm?
I'd have to go back and check with Mr. Munch, but it was after I believe it was after the motion that was denied.
Yeah, I just need a time and date.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, I'd have to go back and talk to Mr. Munch. So I know he didn't get back to me for about 2 days. I do know that, so.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Boggs, for that response. And you said you just only been in contact with the Finance Committee,
So far, that's correct.
and you represent all of council.
I would absolutely talk to anyone.
No, I don't doubt
But
that. I don't doubt your
I
qualifications.
have only spoken thus far in an official capacity with members of the Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Boggs, as a follow-up question to that, and I would love to meet with you at some time. Anytime you want to get a beer, I was actually given an opportunity, and I apologize. I dropped the ball on that one myself. But feel free to. I will own up to that. But Councilwoman Wagner did bring that up. My question to you, certainly very qualified in your legal career. We have a lot of mutual friends who speak very highly of you. Your financial background, you discussed your service in SVU. Do you have any experience prosecuting financial crimes or financial impropriety or mistakes?
No, sir.
All right. So does Mr. Much have experience doing that?
Investigating financial crimes?
Or financial mistakes, improprieties, anything of that nature?
We defend white collar crime, but as far as the investigation side, I do not believe that Mr. Much has ever.
So
has
my
ever done
question,
something like
my question, I guess, then as a follow-up to that, to you is, would you be aware then why it was that Mr. Much assigned you to the case if you don't have experience in that particular field, if that's what we're discussing, unless there's a violent crime?
Oh, no,
you're not aware of?
absolutely. I would be happy to address that. So investigations are not necessarily, they're not all the same. I'll give you that, but a lot of it is the same. So when you're prosecuting, as Ms. Wagner did, she prosecuted all different kinds of crime. You have the police. So in this instance, the analogy for the police would be, we've engaged, and I believe the engagement letter from Mr. Fran Egan is on its way to the Finance Committee if it hasn't already arrived. So Mr. Egan would essentially be like my affiant, my lead detective. So he would be the one that would explain certain things. And as you know, lawyers are, kind of have to be a jack of all trades. They don't necessarily, they have to be able to learn a specific thing very quickly, digest information very quickly, and even if they're not an expert, be able to speak clearly to people about what the experts have said. So my experience with child abuse, rape, murder, trafficking, I understand how investigations go. I believe I am very good at receiving information, learning things quickly, digesting those things, and being able to understand and match facts to ordinances, standards, laws, and such.
So I appreciate that. So I say this just as someone who, for example, I have a son that I share with a woman with whom I'm not married. We have a great relationship. We get along very well. In the past, when we've gone to court hearings, we've sought counsel. When I chose that counsel, when she chose counsel, it was based on someone having experience in family law. I have lawyers in my family and friends, people who I love, great people, good lawyers, refused to provide me services because they didn't believe that their area of expertise was appropriate. They said they review cases. They said they took a look at information, but they advised that we seek someone who has that area of expertise. Now, I'm certain there's some crossover here. I'm not denying that. But I wonder, again, why it is that Mr. Much chose you. And I don't want you to take this as a criticism of you. If your firm has experience in dealing with these matters, and if there are already experts at your firm that may have dealt with these particular cases before, I guess that's my concern or question. It may not be something you can answer, and I understand if it's not.
So I would never, if a large corporation came to me and said, we need you to be our in-house counsel and primarily focus on revamping our financial department, I would not be able to do that. But if you told me to investigate anything from a small amount of marijuana to murder to the moon landing to any fact anywhere in the world, I would know how to do that. I have experience doing that. That's where my expertise is, not necessarily in finance.
Sure. So will you be working with someone with expertise in finance? Who
Yes,
can
Mr.
review-
Fran Egan.
Okay. All right. Just make sure.
Secretary Phillips.
But you answered my question because my question was the same as Counselor Heyman. So thank you.
Vice President Wentz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Boggs, for being here and for the time that you have spent with the Finance Committee. We have found you to be exceptional as an investigator. As when we speak with you, we appreciate your thoughtfulness, you absorbing all the information we have to give you, that you are very straightforward with us. We greatly appreciate all the work that you've done so far. Can you please also let people know about any right-to-know requests pertaining to the investigation, the ARPA funds, because that has already been brought up today. I did reply to an email I received about a right-to-know request, but it was, I had indicated that it had to defer back to you. So can you give some clarification for the residents and council about that?
Certainly. There are, I believe, over 30 exceptions in the right-to-know law to public records. Exceptions 16 and 17 deal with criminal, potential criminal, and non-criminal investigations. So while those investigations, whether they be ranging from anything from non-criminal, non-civil, civil, criminal, there is a exception while that is going on to that being a public record. So it would not qualify as a public record during the time the investigation is open.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Anybody else from council? And Councilwoman Wagner.
And again, I just want to be very brief. First of all, I don't want it to appear that we are in any way trying to prevent Mr. Boggs from talking to anybody else on council. I will say in all due candor that after the last council meeting, based on Councilman Tunis's concerns, I did offer to, make that happen. And I think you guys would agree with that. And I understood the concerns, and I just wanted to be clear that I was willing to do that. And just in terms of your qualifications, Mr. Boggs, I know you were also a public defender, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you had the opportunity to represent people at the time who may have committed some kind of financial crime, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Much has been an attorney for over 30 years, and it has certainly defended some of the higher white-collar crimes in Delaware County, correct?
Yes, I would have, as a public defender, had very, very low-level financial crimes. Mr. Much has the higher end, absolutely.
And you work with him every day?
Every day.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Councilman Heyman first, I believe.
Just as a follow-up to that, and again, to confirm, yes, Councilwoman Wagner did make that suggestion, and I appreciate that. As much as I would love to meet up, grab a beer, get coffee, dinner, whatever. I love that
I want to
stuff.
keep bringing up beer, not me.
Well, look, this time of night and this kind of meeting, it's on my mind.
That's enough.
I this isn't so much a question for you, it's a statement to some of my fellow council members. I don't know, it's something that you can address. It's really not your business, I think, probably. But, I mean, it's something that I think should have been brought to all council. Some of these miscommunications and concerns, I'm not saying that Mr. Boggs isn't the right attorney. I'm not saying that Mr. Much's firm isn't good or qualified. I know that they've done some great work for friends of mine in the past. I'm just saying that some of these miscommunications might have come up had there been an executive session or discussion, since this is potential litigation, since this is potentially a personnel-related matter. Had we had these discussions, this was initially, I know you're communicating with the Finance and Appropriations Committee. I had surmised that this was under that committee, but this was originally approved under the Law and Government Committee. That may have been placed there erroneously, but it was done so and removed from that committee without any communication with at least some of its members. Again, had we been able to have this discussion with you in private or in public as a number of opportunities, I think that some members might not be a little bit disturbed at the fact that, we weren't made aware and don't have this information already. So again, not at you, but
Councilman
that's it.
Tunis.
Yeah, and I don't want you, Mr. Boggs, to think any of this is personal. I think that what you explained about your background is impressive, but you met with the Finance Committee twice.
I did.
See, as 7th District Council person, I never knew that they were already meeting with you after the vote. We were never told that there was a meeting, and that just displays, based on the timeline, that there's information they've already had that we haven't possibly got access to. I'm not sure, I wasn't in the meetings. And I would just continue, Councilwoman Wagner is correct. She did offer us the opportunity to meet you, but I think you should have came to the council, and I would rather have that conversation in public like we are here today. So not the conversation of the investigation, of meeting you.
That's understood. And
Yeah.
in every borough that we represent, and I would still say the same thing here, your politics is yours. I just was never going to, I would certainly meet with anyone here.
I appreciate that.
But I was only engaged by the Finance Committee. So if there was something politically that happened that was, I apologize for that.
No, it's not your fault at all. I just think you were doing your job. What I'm trying to display here is that certain council members were aware of things and others were not. And we wouldn't have gotten to this point if we didn't bring up concerns in the last meeting.
I appreciate you taking the time to tell me that.
Thank you, Councilman Tunis. And Secretary Billups, I believe, one more comment?
I just have a comment. So where are you in the investigation? Did you say that? I don't remember hearing you say that.
I did give I probably will, I will certainly repeat it, but I probably can't give too much more.
No, you don't have to give, like, you don't have to give like,
Oh, yeah.
where like the
in-
ABCs of it, like, where are you,
interviewed-
like,
interviewed first round.
time frame, like, where?
Oh, got it. So the first round of subpoenas that went out are for the bulk of the information that's needed. And if you want to know who those subpoenas are, I'd be happy to tell you that, but I'm not going to release any of that information publicly without council's permission.
I hear you.
So they have a return date of April the 8th. From the moment that all of that information is received, probably a month. But like I said, I'm not naive. I don't believe that they're going to be answered. I don't know if there are other people that have been hired by Upper Darby that will get the information, and there'll be presentations without me. But if the information comes, it's about a month.
Okay, so, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but, and I think your credentials are very impressive, but it's just kind of, I'm just making a comment. Don't everybody shoot me at once. It just feels kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Criminal. The things that you're talking about, and it's just a comment. You don't have to respond.
That's actually something that I don't.
I'm just saying that it feels that way. I'm not saying that it is. That's.
I've been hired by council to give a report
So
of
you've been
facts.
hired by the Finance Committee.
That is your politics.
No, that's not politics. No, that's not politics.
All right, Councilwoman Billups has the floor, guys. Please.
That's not politics. That's a fact. You were hired by the majority of council, which was the Finance Committee. So I rephrased my statement.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
I'll go
That's fine.
with that. So the Finance Committee my charge is to report back to all of council with facts. It is not my job to determine whether something is bad, civil, criminal. I'm just going to tell you what I find if I'm able to do the investigation.
And I appreciate that. I'm just saying that what it feels like to me. I'm not saying about anybody else. I'm just saying that's what it feels like to me. That's all I said.
I think that's reasonable. Whenever something like this happens, I think it's reasonable to think the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. And we haven't heard from Councilwoman Farrelly.
So I have a question. You said the deadline was April 8th. So if you do not get the information that you need to go forward, where do you go from there?
I have a plan in place to file a motion to compel with the president judge of the county.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hayman.
So can I just ask, and again, not a criticism, but I mean, I guess first, you said you've been meeting with the finance committee. Have you ever met with any other members outside of the finance committee?
No, I've not been approached, and I've not.
No, just making sure. So because I just want to, I'm asking something for clarity. I appreciate that. Thank you, though. How many hours have you put into this case so far, would you say?
Before tonight.
If we count this meeting at 7, I'm just kidding.
I believe it's around, I believe I've billed about 7 or 8.
Okay. And how many hours would you typically, I know you can't give me a definitive number probably, but how many hours would an investigation like this, if it were to last a month, or let's say more than that, how many hours could you expect to put into an investigation like this?
If I got the information quickly without, I might not even bill the entire retainer. If I have to enforce subpoenas, I mean, it could be years. Or something else would happen before I got to finish the investigation. That would make it moot.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And how much are the billable hours?
I'm sorry,
How much is it per hour?
$250.
Thank you.
The retainer was
7,500.
7,500. So as he stated, that if he gets the information quickly and he's able to resolve it in a month, he's not going to he may not bill the full retainer of $7,500, right? So we're talking.
I would be happy to
So.
report, yes.
So it's not a whole lot of money in comparison to like when people have talked about a forensic audit costing $250,000. We're talking a fraction of that for an investigation if the information is provided in a timely fashion. So just wanted to clarify that because those numbers have been flown around. And I do understand everyone's concerns. As part of the Finance Committee, we are very much concerned about the finances of the township and make sure that we are not, going above and beyond what we had planned on doing. However, this situation came up, and we greatly appreciate the amount you gave us for the retainer. I understand that we may be hiring someone else, the detective, but I appreciate the numbers you have given us and your diligent work to work within that time frame, that amount. So thank you.
Thank you. And then I'll go to COA Rangione.
Sure. Thank you, President Burke. I will I will attempt to be brief, and I honestly did believe that I was finished correcting the record for this evening, but we will continue down that path as needed. Mr. Boggs, thank you for being here. I am familiar with your firm and your work, and I respect your credentials. I do believe that, as you noted, you've been placed in a very difficult situation that is fraught with personalities and politics and difficulties. This is neither the first time, and I don't imagine it'll be the last time, that a lawyer or the legal system will be manipulated for personal or political purposes. So I don't envy you being in that situation, but I do trust that you'll conduct yourself with integrity during this process. I do want to point out that your engagement is actually not with the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is not empowered to engage an attorney. According to our home rule charter, the mayor is the head of this governing body, and your engagement is with the township. And so I do think that in the interest of making sure that all legal ethics are being observed, we are going to need clarification on exactly the nature of your engagement and what your reporting obligations are and to whom based on those facts. Further, I would also like to just say that there is not a single credible person who has thrown around $250,000 as the cost of a forensic audit. I mean, I don't doubt that there are people who have said those numbers, and I don't doubt that there are forensic audits that cost that much. But in the context of Upper Darby Township and this investigation, there is not a single credible person that I am aware of who has thrown around that number. The only other thing that I would add, without going into too much detail because it would not be appropriate, is that this discussion and this interaction is actually the appropriate purview of an executive session of this council. And so while I appreciate your disclosure of your political background and your attempts to talk about those things in a way that would provide the public and the council assurances that they would not play a role here. And I do honestly believe that you as an individual will not allow those things to play a role here. But as a simple matter of fact, as a simple matter of convention in this country, in this governing system, if this investigation were not political, this conversation would be being had in an executive session of this chamber. And that is not your fault or your responsibility, but that is nevertheless a reality of the way municipal government functions.
President Burke, this is highly inappropriate.
In the Commonwealth
It is
of Pennsylvania.
highly, highly inappropriate.
Thank you, CA Rangione. Mr. Boggs, do you have anything to bring forward?
Oh, no, that completes my
Okay,
presentation.
well, sure, go ahead.
So, President Burke, what was your thought process in choosing this firm?
So I'll tell you.
I can ask the question.
I'm going to tell you. The night that I met Mr. Munch is the same night that the mayor was with me at the opening of the boxing gym. And that's the first and only time I met him. I'm involved in the boxing gym. I'm involved in Pennsylvania Golden Gloves. I'm involved in a 100-year anniversary of Pennsylvania United States Golden Gloves. I reached out to Mr. Munch, because my good friend was out of the country. And that's the only reason I reached out to Mr. Munch.
Okay, so you would have appointed your friend if he was here?
No.
Oh, okay, I'll
No,
just clarify.
asking for information.
Oh, okay.
That's all. He
Thank
was
you.
out of the
Thank you for those
country.
responses.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time, Mr. Buck.
Oh, thank you, council.
Okay. So we have public hearing ordinance 3113, and Solicitor Richardson, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, President Burke. This is an ordinance of Upper Darby Township amending Chapter 302 of the Fire Code, Article 3, Alarm Systems, to include a response fee for false alarms, providing for a severability clause, and providing for effective date. Council, just for clarification, this is amending the fees and violations. There, we are striking Section 302-25 Cap E3 with a no fee for first alarms, no fee for second alarms. And for third and subsequent false alarms, there's a $500 response fee. Section 302-25 Cap E4 is added to amend the code, stating that failure to pay any fee as prescribed herein shall constitute a violation. There is there's a repealer clause, a severability clause, and this shall be effective immediately. So ends the reading.
All right, so we have a public hearing on 3113. Does anybody from the public have anything to say? Can I get anybody from council? No. Can I get a motion?
Wait. You got to officially open the public hearing.
I just
Get-
said.
Okay, but give them a few moments to come up before you cut it off.
Okay,
And then you
well-
have to
well,
officially
they-
close it.
Laura, they all left. Everybody left.
Okay.
Okay.
You just got
Okay,
to
all
officially
right.
close it before you can move to a
Does
motion.
anybody from the public have anything to say? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Anybody from council? Can I get a motion to adopt?
Motion.
First and second? Okay. Thank you. Roll call.
Do we have to do roll call?
Any comments from council? 1, 2, 3. All right. Seeing no comments, can I get
Just kidding, sorry.
can I get a roll call? Yeah. I don't like that.
Well, I was waiting for him because he's first.
Tunis.
Councilman Tunis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups is a yes. Councilman Silver is excused. Councilwoman Blackwell,
Yes.
Council President Burke,
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq.
Yes, ordinance number 3113.
Thank you. Councilwoman Faralia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wagner.
Yes.
Councilman Andrusko is also excused. Vice President Wentz.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I am so sorry.
If you don't mind.
I am so sorry.
Would you like a vote, Amy?
Councilman Heyman?
Yes.
I apologize. And I checked you off as a yes.
So 9 yeses.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, we have resolution number 11-22, Solicitor Kilkenny.
I'm gonna need y'all to do my homework tonight.
Now therefore be resolved, the township is.
I'm the president.
Now therefore be it resolved, the township is hereby authorized to apply for, execute, and submit a grant application to DCNR for construction of Section 6 of the Cardington Newtown Trail. The township is authorized to provide such assurances, certificates, and supplemental data or revised data that may be requested in connection with the application or administration of this grant, resolved in council chambers this evening. And that concludes my reading, President Burke.
Anybody from council have anything?
No.
Okay. I get a motion to adopt?
Motion.
Motion.
First and second?
Yeah.
All right.
Heyman and
Uh,
Mr.
No comments? Any
No.
comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, 9-0. 13-2, Planning Zoning. We have a public hearing on ordinance 3115. Solicitor Kilkenny again.
Thank you very much. Now therefore be it ordained by Upper Darby Township Council as follows. Section 1, Section 718B1 of the Administrative Code is amended to as follows. The Departments of License and Inspection shall be headed by a director and shall be responsible to the mayor and chief administrative officer for the performance of the function of the said department. 2, Section 718B3 of the Administrative Code is added. The director of the Department of License and Inspections or a qualified individual appointed by the mayor with the approval of 6 council members shall act as a zoning officer. Section 3, all ordinances and parts thereof inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are repealed. And 4, the terms, conditions, and provisions of this ordinance are hereby declared to be severable. This ordinance shall be effective immediately and acted today in council chambers the 16th day of March. Concludes my reading, Mr. President.
Thank you, Solicitor Kilkenny. Anybody from the public have anything to bring forward? Seeing none. Can I get a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Okay.
Blackwell.
Okay, that was everybody. Anybody from council have any comments?
Nope.
Okay.
I think it's a good move.
So moved. All right, so this was 311.
3-1.
All right. Can I get a roll call?
Yes. This is 3115.
Yes.
Councilman Tunis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups is a yes. Councilman Silver is excused. Councilwoman Blackwell,
Yes.
Councilman Heyman,
Yes.
Council President Burke,
Yes.
Councilman Siddiq,
Yes, ordinance 3115.
Councilwoman Faralia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wagner,
Yes.
Councilman Andrusko is excused, and Vice President Wentz.
Yes.
Okay.
9-0, thank you. Resolution 12-22, Solicitor Kilkenny again.
Yes. The whereas clauses reference the ordinance that was just passed. And obviously, to fill the position of zoning officer, it shall be resolved by Upper Darby Council that Joshua Trask shall be the appointed zoning officer of Upper Darby Township, adopted and resolved this day in council chambers.
Thank you, Solicitor Kilkenny. Can I get a motion to approve?
So
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Second by Tunis. Anybody from council have any comments?
No.
I just want to say that Joshua Chess has done an excellent job on the zoning hearing board so far. And I'm glad that he will officially be appointed as the zoning officer.
Thank you,
I
Vice
second
President
it.
Wentz. and,
Josh is awesome.
Stole both our comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? 9-0. Thank you very much. All righty, so where are we at here, 13? Okay, next up, Public Safety, Resolution number 13-22. Solicitor Kilkenny again.
Yes, Resolution 1322 refers to parking meter, and the resolution removes parking meter number 853, which is situated at 7423 Westchester Pike, resolved and enacted this day in council chambers.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So,
I have a question.
Any comments?
Question.
Go ahead.
Just clarification, why are we removing this?
We're removing this because the business owner has wanted this to be a handicap parking space with a metered parking as compared to just a metered parking space. That's why we're removing.
So are we implementing a handicap parking
That's what we're doing, yes.
spot in its place, but not a metered handicap parking
It's going
spot?
to be metered handicap.
That's not what,
Just to be a handicap spot, correct?
No meter, just a handicap.
We need to discuss that because it should be metered in handicap. Because if you, in this particular neighborhood, if it's going to be handicap, then anybody can go into the area and just park there and sit there. So it has to
they
be
have to have
metered.
a handicap placard or license plate to park there.
So,
Right, of course, they can have to have a handicap space to park there, but then they won't have to pay.
Handicap people don't pay.
There are handicap meters.
yeah. That's, the resolution on the table right now is to remove the meter. Nothing else at this present point.
I understand. I just
okay,
wanted to
so,
understand why we were doing that
okay.
and what the intent was.
Right, so the intent will be next meeting that we can decide whether it's metered or not. I believe the information from Dr. Coles, the parking authority agreed to move the meter at the present point. This is why the resolution is. We will have another resolution in front of us next meeting, maybe pertaining to the same spot, correct? No? Okay, so we're just, okay.
This has already been set. Dr. Coles agreed to it. Officer Bateman agreed to it. The removal of the meter is a council action by resolution. And the paperwork has already been sent by the mayor's request line to install the handicap parking spot as soon as the meter is removed.
Okay.
Understandable. But
Thank
as
you for that.
council, what I'm saying is, we can agree to that, but I've spoken with the business owners in that location, and they would agree that it should be paid meter, handicap.
Okay. So on the table right now, we have to remove the meter. So.
All right, we can agree to that.
So
I'll make
I
a
would
motion
like
to do that.
Like to,
We can make a motion to remove the meter,
Okay.
but the
But if we're
business
gonna have
owners
to
would
put it
like
back.
to.
But if we're going to put it back, right.
President Burke, can we just make a motion to table until we get clarity on what?
Councilman Tunis.
Sorry, I
Thank,
should have.
no, thank you, thank you. So you would like to make a motion?
To table.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion to table first and second by Tunis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay.
Nay.
You didn't want to table you do want.
What I just said was what I just said.
That's fine, that's fine. So it's 8-1. 8-1, the resolution's tabled. Thank you. 8-1, it's tabled.
President, renege what I just said, because I just said it,
Sure.
and we can just table it.
Yes.
But I'm doing based on what the business owner has stated what
Okay.
they needed for that location.
Okay, so,
I spoke to them.
okay, so are we 9-0 tabling it, or we?
You can
9-0?
9-0
Thank you.
table it.
Okay, 9-0, right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up, we have an introduction of ordinance 3114, Solicitor Richardson.
Thank you, President Burke. Council, what you have in front of you is a ordinance amending Chapter 570 Vehicles and Traffic titled Residential Parking Permits to establish permanent parking regulations on certain township residential streets, providing a servability clause and consistency clause, and an effective date. Council, the Public Safety Committee has met. They also have met with Dr. Coles. We will go over the sections. Section 1 is amending the residential parking permits, providing the intent of the ordinance. Section 2 provides the definitions. Section 3 provides the designation of parking permit areas. Please note on page 3, it provides a list of, I believe, 16 that were set by Dr. Coles and the administration and approved by the Public Safety Committee. Streets may be added or removed to the permit added area by recommendation of the Parking Enforcement Department, then approved by ordinance. Then there's section 4, which is the issuance and renewal of parking permits, issuance, renewal, and then the next section provides, which is section 5, provides permit terms and fees. Just for clarification, the residential parking permit fee shall be valid for 1 year. The fee shall be $35. The renewal residential parking fee is $35, and there's no application fee for residential parking for a guest permit. And annual application fees for residential parking permits may be amended by Township Council by the Township's fee ordinance. Section 6 provides parking permit privileges. Section 7 provides the posting of signs, which will be covered by Public Works. Section 8 provides rules and regulations of the departments, that provide rules and regulations: Department of License and Inspection, Department of Parking Enforcement, and Public Works. Section 9 provides enforcement, which is a fine of $25. Section 2 provides a severability clause. There's a repealer clause, and then there's an effective date. So ends the reading for the introduction.
Thank you, Solicitor Richardson. And Chairwoman Pirelli?
Yes, didn't we add 2 streets?
They're on here.
Oh,
They're on here.
They are on there?
I correct, Maypole, right, 200 block? Yeah, I believe they're in there. It just listed the 200 blocks.
Oh, here
They're there, so
Maypole,
I wanted to make sure they were on there. Councilman Tunis?
Yeah, so just 2 quick questions. It says unit blocks of like North Keystone, Merwood, and Hampton. Is that like the 200 and 300 block, or?
It's the 100.
0 to 1.
Less than 1, okay. All right. And then it says not more than 2 residential parking permits shall be issued to residents at 1 postal address. So does that mean only 2 residents in the household can have 2 parking permits? Like, what's the
cars?
So if you have more than 2 cars, like, what's the solution for you?
I believe if you have 2 cars, you have 2 permits.
2 permits.
And
if
that's
you
it, and you should be parking on,
No, what if you have more than, like, what if there's a child? Does it?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand, but
Oh, yeah, there's drivers in the south.
we're,
So I'm just curious on how, because I live in a very populated part of Upper Darby Township, and many people have more than 2 vehicles. So if there's a parking permit, I just want to know, like, what happens to those folks?
I will,
Brought up?
no, yes, it has. It was brought up, so,
it was 2 cars per household. And then you're allowed to get guest passes you get a certain amount of guest passes. But you're supposed to park out back of your house. This is just for like around the residential areas where they have the business districts. It's not going to be like throughout the whole township.
Yeah, I totally understand. I just live in a business district.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure, because I have neighbors that have multiple
Do you have
vehicles.
driveways?
No, we have there's 1 parking spot in the back. There's people have to fight for parking spots in the front. And if they have more than one vehicle, I just want to know, like, even if the guest passes that run out, like, because I'm going to have to answer these questions. That's
So-
why I'm asking.
So Councilman Tunis, the next time they meet about this with Dr. Coles, I'll be more than glad to step out of that meeting. So another council person from the 7th District or the 6th District would like to jump in at any given time. I would like to, this is a plan that Dr. Coles, the administration worked on for the last whatever, and they came up with these streets. Councilman Heyman, Councilwoman Blackwell and Wentz, and even Councilman Farrelly added like 22 streets in our meeting, but we wanted to get this passed. And I'd be more than glad to step out of that meeting next time they have one for you to jump in the meeting, for your concerns for your residents.
Yeah, that's just it. And I just want a little bit more clarity because if this is advertised, residents from Merwood, Maple, 2 of them spoke here today.
Yeah.
I just want to know that I can be able to. And then we also, you said postal address, so a duplex with 2 units will each get their own 2 vehicles.
It's not where there's no apartments.
Yeah.
So this isn't.
Right
going
now,
on
it's
This
just
is the problem.
This is a pilot program.
Pilot, it's a pilot.
pilot program.
I totally understand it's a pilot program geared towards trying to see if we can expand the program, but
Right,
I'm
but
just
if there's
asking.
apartments there, there's not going to be a permit there.
But we'll be looking into that, and I'll be more than glad to step out of that meeting for any council person that wants to jump in the parking permit. Vice President Wentz?
Also, so I have one thing, but also to clarify, in some of the houses on some of these streets have apartments within the house itself, so the first floor and the second floor. So I think that's what Councilman Tunis was referring to, that it's not an apartment building, but the houses are split into 2 or 3 apartments within the house itself. So just wanted to make you aware, that's all.
Okay.
So that doesn't count as a household. If it's a house.
But if they live on the street, but if it's on that street that's listed here, then you have to provide 2 parking permits per address.
But I was pretty.
And I
sure
think
when
that's
we-
what his concern was.
When we spoke about this, it had to do, there was supposed to be no apartments. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that right? That there's not to be any?
That's CO.
Yeah, sure. I think basically everyone who's spoken is correct about what they're saying. The idea was that when the streets were vetted, the attempt was made to not impact large apartment buildings, multi-units. But it is certainly true that a smaller apartment building might be impacted, but they have different postal addresses, so they would be entitled to the multiple passes in that small apartment situation. And look, I think the reality is that parking is a very difficult situation. It's a difficult problem. And so currently, it's very difficult for the residents on those streets to find parking. And so the question is, what's the best way to try to alleviate that and guarantee that the residents have at least some parking guaranteed for their cars, because they're already competing with themselves and their neighbors for those spots. And so it's not a perfect solution. But of course, if we granted everybody 15 parking passes, that also wouldn't solve the problem, right? So the question is, sure, if you have a 3rd or a 4th car, you might have to rotate with cars in your house. You might have to park your 3rd or 4th car not on that block. I mean, that's certainly true, which is also true currently, right? You're competing for those spots now. People park around the corner and walk to their house all the time. So it's just a question of, let's do a pilot program and see if this actually helps address the situation. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we, change it and move forward.
Thank you, sir. As we spoke in a meeting, not once, but twice with Solicitor Richardson, it was very important for us to have a lot of comments, and then it was very important the next day to think about getting this pilot program passed to see what the reactions are of the community and then work outward towards that. So I think it's important.
I still had another thing to say.
Okay. I think it's important that we make a motion to introduce and advertise this to get the pilot program going. So I will turn it over to, hold on, I'm not finished. That was. It is, Councilman Tunis. You're absolutely correct. And it's nice to be nice. It's also nice to end a meeting when the president has the floor. And if the president wants to end the meeting, the president will end the meeting. And we'll ask for a motion to end the meeting. So I'm not asking for it, but when I am part of that meeting and trying to explain the hard work that the Solicitor Richardson and Dr. Coles has done, and the committee, to try to get this pilot program that's been on the table with the administration for 15 months, to get it passed. We're all saying the same thing. It's a pilot program. We spent an hour in the meeting and then spent another 20 minutes to clear it up and to get it on the agenda today. It's important. And we're going to continue like this. You will have the president make motions to end meetings. And yes, it is nice to be nice. So I will come back to Councilman Tunis after Vice President Wentz has it.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask for clarification on page 3, part B, towards the top, just under the listed streets. My concern on it being only the parking enforcement department bringing other streets forward, can we add council or mayor so that, or can we make, or when an ordinance comes forward, we can make recommendations? It's just that as council members, we represent people on all these streets who come to us making requests. If council or the mayor doesn't have the opportunity to add streets, then it's a little funky for us. So I just wanted to ask if we could add that.
Yeah. Solicitor Richardson.
Thank you, President Burke. So for clarification, council would ask for the parking director to look at the street. So there's a criteria that Dr. Coles goes through regarding the feasibility for a particular block in terms of, I believe, the size of the street. Councilor Faralia, if I'm misspeaking, please correct me. So it was the size of the street, the number of units on the street. It was a lot of different things that she looked into. So she has her own process. So ultimately, it would be recommended to Dr. Coles, and then it would come back to council if it meets the certain criteria that's set up by the parking enforcement.
Okay, then is it possible to add the clarification on how streets get, is there about how people can recommend streets for this program? Because, the parking director might change if we don't have it written in on how do we recommend streets in the future, then how do we know the process outside of, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, I'm just trying to get clarification, that's all.
So we can have a two-step process, whether it goes through the director, Dr. Coles, or it can go through the public safety or the request line like we have. I believe at the meeting, Dr. Coles and Solicitor Richardson said it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to look at these streets, to do their research, whether they're parking on one side, whether there's duplexes on each street. And like I said, it's a pilot program. We're not going to get it right the first time. And if we do, that's great. If we do, that's great. And we can move on forward with the recommendation of the residents coming to council, to the request line, to Dr. Coles or public safety, but also Dr. Coles would like to do her investigation like she has on these streets. So I hope that answers your question, Vice President Wentz. And
Yes,
I
thank
think
you.
we can, and Councilman Tunis.
Thank you for that clarification, CAO Rangione. I just wanted to just make sure, because I'm going to get these questions. My residents don't know who some of you are. They'll be contacting me, so I just wanted to be prepared, and I appreciate that clarification.
Thank you, Councilman Tunis. Councilman Siddiq, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Just simple question, how long we have to wait for the pilot project?
If we voted in tonight,
It'll go in effect right away.
it's going to affect April 6th.
No, not that. Once it approved, pilot project, maybe some other people, other street, they will ask for it. So how, pilot project, how long it will? It's like.
So when Dr. Coles gets a number of streets, which she already has from the committee, Andrew, myself, and Councilwoman Pirelli, and Councilwoman Blackwell have given her streets. She's out researching them as we gave them. So, more the merrier, but, as we start throwing more blocks and unit blocks out,
Sadiq, if you want streets to be looked at, just email them to us, and then we can talk to Dr. Coles about it.
All right,
When we move forward to add more streets.
okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yep.
Councilman Heyman, go ahead.
I had another question. Am I able to make a motion to advertise or?
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to advertise.
Introduce and advertise.
Do we want a roll call or?
Yep.
Okay, roll call. Go ahead. Thank you. Okay, next one we want.
Councilman Tunis? Councilman Tunis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups is a yes. Councilman Silver is excused. Councilwoman Blackwell?
Yes.
Councilman Heyman?
Yes.
Council President Burke?
Yes.
Councilman Sadiq?
Yes, ordinance 1114.
Councilwoman Faralia?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wagner?
Yes.
Councilman Andrewsko is excused, and Vice President Wentz.
Yes.
9-0. Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we have introduction of ordinance 3117. Solicitor Richardson.
Thank you, President Burke. This is an ordinance amending ordinance 1589, provide a definition for trucks and site hazards to permit the Director of Parking Enforcement to limit parking in certain areas of the township designated as a site hazard, so providing severability clause repealing all inconsistent ordinances, and providing an effective date. Council, you would remember, or possibly not remember, given the lateness of the hour, that last meeting and the meeting prior, there were multiple residents that were complaining that they were being ticketed on streets. And we were able, thank you, Alexis, for your help, to locate the ordinance in which was being used by parking enforcement. There was no definition for trucks, which was provided, which was causing confusion. And then additionally, the engineer, thank you, Mike Galante, had a conversation about site hazards in the township and how they should be dealt with. So as you can see in section 1, ordinance 1589 is amended to provide for the following definitions. A, trucks, trailers, semi-trailers, or other commercial vehicles in excess of 8,500 pounds. President Burke, we initially had it at 14,000, and President Burke said, yes, he said words. He gave us words, and he said, no, that's not going to work. He was persuasive. And then we have site hazards. Any location in the township where the parking of a vehicle or a vehicle of a certain size creates a site obstruction that constitutes a traffic hazard as determined by the township engineer. And then it also provides that the ordinance is amended that the Director of Parking Enforcement, after conferring with the township engineer, has the right to limit the parking of certain vehicles based on height and size in areas of township to be considered site hazards. These areas of the township shall be designated by resolution of council. So there's a severability clause, repealer clause, and effective date. So council, this basically deals with the issues that have been coming up in parking over the last few weeks and months. So this, we believe, between the engineer and the parking and Director of Parking, that these actually addresses all the issues.
Thank you, Solicitor Richardson. And I believe Mike Galante was a help on this. Also, I believe Hereford's weight limit was 8,500. Is that correct?
No, it actually was 8,000.
Oh, 8.
And so the
8,000.
So
Okay.
the F-150, the Ford F-150, I've learned more about trucks than I would ever need to know, actually is 8,500.
Okay, 8,500. So thanks for your help, Mr. Galante. And Vice President Wentz, so far, I know you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify for those of us who don't understand trucks, as far as the weight of a truck, just want to verify that the 8,500 pounds means that any truck that's a personal truck does not fall under that equation. And then the box trucks are also included in this, I guess, because of the semi-trailers type of thing. So I just want to, for the non-truck speaking people, want to make sure that they understand, that we understand that personal trucks are allowed to be parked.
That's correct. That's directly what it deals with. As we were having a conversation with President Burke, the Ford F-150 is probably like the biggest truck that's personal. I mean, I think there's some hybrid between the two, but that's the 8,500. So anything below that, it would not be considered a truck, whether it's tagged as a truck on the license plate or not.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
We have Secretary Bulbs.
Vice President Wentz, I think she answered my question, but I do have a question though. So this morning when I was going to work, it was a truck blocking my view, and I couldn't get out, and it was right on the corner of my block. So I had to, But so with that truck, and I don't think it weighed 8,500 pounds, but would that truck fall in Section B, the slight hazard? It wouldn't?
No.
It was a hazard because I couldn't see.
Yes.
Sight hazard. No, I'm not talking about the 8,500 thing, but it was a sight hazard
Sight,
because I couldn't
yes.
see.
Yeah, it'll fall into that in the site hazard.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, it will be where our signs said commercial trucks, no parking of commercial trucks. We'll have to change our signs
Okay.
In the township where they're already located
Okay.
to no box trucks and commercial vehicles over 8,500 pounds.
That's good to know.
Anybody else from council have anything? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to
Can I
introduce
get
and
a motion
advertise.
to introduce and advertise?
I would like to make that motion.
Sure, thank you.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sounds good. No roll call. All right, thank you. Any nays? No. Okay.
It's pretty good.
All right, 14.0, solicitors.
Thank you very much. I know that the evening is late. You've seen our office has done a lot of work on various ordinances and resolutions in these last couple of weeks. Want to thank, it's always a pleasure to work with council committees. Want to see if anybody had any questions, or else I could talk more, but I figured talking
we'll
less might
wrap
be
it
good.
up.
Right, exactly, yes.
All righty. Thank you, Solicitor Kilkenny, especially for the work the last 2 weeks from your firm. Thank you. Old business, 15.0. Oh,
I just want to tell you something, I'm wondering if this will help clear this up. Going back to that resolution for removing the meter, I have the original email from the business owner, and in 2 places in the email, she said, "We are trying to convert a parking spot in front of our accessible entrance from a standard metered spot to a designated unmetered handicap parking space." Again, further in the email, she said, "We would like the spot to be unmetered."
Okay.
So that's why the resolution was done the way it was. So I don't know whether in the interest of the business owner not having to wait again, you can untable the resolution and.
would anybody like to make a
You
motion
you
on
can
that?
untable it, but I'm just saying, I spoke with the establishment and they wanted to, that's fine.
From Naomi.
That's fine. Okay, that's
Thank-
fine. Just make a note that what I said, after I spoke with them.
All right, I'm going to make a motion to untable it.
Okay, hold on, are we done? Hold on 1 second, guys. Guys, hold on 1 second. We're going to do it in new business, okay? Okay. So old business is over, correct?
Well, it is old business.
Okay, you're fine, I'm sorry. It is old business, go ahead. You can make-
I want to make a motion to untable it.
Any second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion to untable 13-22.
Yep.
We have a first and a second.
Yep.
All right, and then I guess I'll take a roll call vote. 1322.
This is the motion on table, and then there will be a motion.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So all right, so we'll have a, all in favor to untable 13-22.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. All right, so 8-1. All right, now we have reintroduction of it?
Just a motion to adopt.
So do we have a motion to adopt 13-22?
Second.
So we have a first and second. I'll take a roll call vote on this one, okay? Sorry.
Counselor Tunis,
Yes.
Counselor Billups is a yes. Counselor Silver is excused. Counselor Blackwell,
Yes, motion to adopt, pending my comments that I stated based on my conversation with the establishment.
so is that a yes?
Yes,
Okay.
based on my comments.
Counselor Heyman,
Yes.
Council President Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Sadiq,
Yes.
Counselor Faralia,
Yes.
Counselor Wagler,
Yes.
Counselor Andrewsko is excused, and Vice President Wentz.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Secretary Billups. 9-0. So any old business? Okay, see,
Yes, I
I'm
have
sorry,
more
go
old
ahead.
business. I want to make a motion to stop the investigation.
Second.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I want to make a motion to stop the investigation. I didn't have any information regarding it. As a former member of the Finance Committee, clarification of the nature of the engagement, I make a motion to stop the investigation.
Not on the agenda.
Doesn't have to be on it. It's old business. It's old business. It doesn't have to be on the agenda. No, it does not. We don't, I made a motion. Can we make them vote?
Just wait a second.
Can we do that?
No.
It's on the agenda. I made the
It's already been
motion.
voted on by a majority of the council.
I made a motion to stop the investigation.
It's already
I
been
made a
voted on.
motion.
Okay,
No.
Councilwoman Wagner, hold on one second. So we have a motion taken by Councilwoman Blackwell first and seconded. Do we have any comments from council? Councilwoman Wagner, go ahead.
It's already been voted on by the majority of council at a previous hearing, and this is simply a tactic based on the fact that two members of council are not here tonight to try to stop
That's
that.
not our responsibility. They're
Yeah,
not here.
Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilwoman Wagner has the floor,
Thank you,
please.
President.
You know, and it's very interesting to me that there's such a desire to stop this investigation. All that says to me is there's something to be found. But it's already been voted on by the majority of council and is under, it's under investigation at this point.
It already started, we already paid for it.
And it cannot be overturned in this fashion. And by the way, Mr. Kilkenny cannot advise as to this, as he has a conflict, as he's already said.
I can advise that it's on the agenda.
Okay, that's fine.
He can't advise as to whether to
Okay.
take the vote, though, and our solicitors.
Council,
Councilor Wagner, I'm not opining, I do have a conflict, and I will not conduct the investigation. I'm
That's
very
correct.
clear about that.
That's fine.
But there was a motion, a second on.
Mr.
And
Kilkenny,
an investigation
your,
can be started and stopped. Happens all the time.
I want to make a motion to end this meeting now.
there's a motion on the floor, and
it's just a waste of time. We're going to just vote to have it start again in 2 weeks. So this is just an absolute waste of everybody's time.
so Councilwoman Wagner, you're
Right now,
absolutely,
we've
you're
raised-
absolutely correct. We have a motion on the floor. We're going to go with the motion. That's fine. It's not a big deal. This is the way we're going to run the council meetings, okay?
Apparently.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor.
It's not fair at all.
It's fine, it's fine.
It's sleazy.
So she gets to speak,
So,
and I
so
don't,
Councilwoman Blackwell, she's still talking,
but she got to spoke
and I'm going to
plenty
let
of
you
times.
speak.
Say it was
I'm
done.
going to let you speak. Okay, I will
His
actually.
daughter's in the hospital, so I
So-
think that may
so-
take precedence.
So Councilwoman Wagner, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And now Councilwoman Blackwell, you have a motion on the floor,
Let's move forward, please. Thank
okay?
you.
So we'll take a roll call vote on the motion to end the investigation. Okay?
What's that?
Sophie, stop with your comments, because it's really.
Councilwoman Farrelly, Councilwoman Farrelly, please, please,
right, though.
No,
please,
I'm done, I'm done.
please. We have a vote on the floor.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
We're getting a roll call vote.
Okay. Councilman Tunis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups. I don't have the faintest idea. I'm gonna say yes. Councilman Silva is excused. Councilwoman Blackwell.
Yes.
Councilman Heyman.
Yes.
Council President Burke.
No.
Councilman Siddiq.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faralia.
No.
Councilwoman Wagner.
No.
Andrews goes excused, and Council Vice President Wentz.
Solid no.
Okay. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. All right, any old business? Okay. Any new business?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to add ordinance 3111, the approving the ARP funds to our next agenda for advertisement.
Second.
I don't think we can make a motion. It's not on the agenda.
To put it on the agenda.
For the next meeting.
This happened in a previous meeting. It's de minimis. We can have.
Well, it was on the agenda. That's why you were allowed to make a motion. Solicitor Kilkenny just let you guys have a motion because it was on the agenda. The ARPA funds is not on the agenda. No.
To add it to the agenda for the next council meeting, not for this.
But you're still making a motion. You're still making a motion that something's not on the agenda.
You can make a motion for something that's not on the agenda if it's de minimis.
Okay, fine.
Or it's not a
Go ahead.
contract.
That's fine. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm making the motion. We've got a second.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilman Tunis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Billups is a yes. Councilman Silva is excused. Councilwoman Blackwell.
Yes.
Councilman Heyman.
Yes.
Council President Burke.
No.
It's to advertise. It's just to advertise.
No, it's to be, no,
It's to
near,
add it to the agenda. Okay. I made a mistake.
No.
It's to add it to the agenda. That's a
No.
no. Councilman Siddiq.
Yes.
Councilwoman Faralia.
No.
Councilwoman Wagner.
No.
And Councilman Andrewsko is excused, and Vice President Wentz.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
5 to 4.
okay. Any other new business?
Yeah, I just want to remind people that about some upcoming events. I think you guys got it in your folder about the job fair on May 21st.
I didn't get anything in my folder.
I think we got it last meeting.
No, it's not in.
That's from last meeting.
Oh, sorry. The little,
Yep,
yeah.
we got it from last
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
And the Mental Health and Wellness Fair on May 14th.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have.
I have one more item, President Burke.
Go ahead.
So at our last meeting, I discussed sending money to UNICEF or any other organization to help the Ukrainian people. Obviously, our solicitor's done some digging, and it seems that we're not able to do that. But I did note in the letter, and I wasn't seeing it in the initial one, that we could give money from our own paychecks. Is that correct? Was that?
That's correct. From your own personal money. Your own personal money, I believe.
But could council members collect their own paychecks? Or, for example, I'd be glad to volunteer my admittedly meager paychecks to go to UNICEF. I don't know if any other council members, if we can do that as an action of council. I don't know.
No, I don't think you can do it as an action sitting up here.
All right.
You can email or call each individual council person.
I
Okay.
think the safer thing is just have it deposit in your account and then write the check.
Okay.
Yes,
All
yeah,
right.
right.
All right. Well, then,
I thought that's what it is.
then
I don't think you want my
disregard.
account number. So, so I always say it's nice to be nice, right, Councilman Tunis? So, I call motion to adjourn the meeting.
Move.
Thank you. 10, I don't know, 17? Sound right?